What if Bell gained the power of demons?
The strength of Meliodas.
Hello everyone, welcome to What If Bell Got the Powers of Meliodas and Became the New Demon Adventurer movie. Before we start, please go support Shadow Cranel for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistaken character's gender, but of course Bell is a male. Bell Cranel is a boy full of pure joy and above all hope. He becomes an adventurer to fulfill his greatest dreams and desires. But one day he goes down more than he should in the dungeon, finding the creature that would surely have ended his life, if not for a very charismatic and above all powerful presence, who gives him his powers so he can rest in peace, since he found someone with a good heart to house his skills, knowledge and powers. Now that Bell has all this, he is reborn as a new being. What will Bell Cranel's new destiny be? Prologue, a surprise encounter and new powers. After the 7 deadly sins formed their lives and their families only prospered peace until the day each one had to die. Meliodas just after dying found himself in a blank space. No more than 2 minutes passed before a voice spoke to him. "Hello Meliodas," in a friendly tone. "Meliodas, who are you?" Somewhat confused. "I am a being much more superior and ancestral than the Demon King and the Supreme Deity. I have been called many things throughout time, but you can call me Kami." "Meliodas, I see then Kami, what am I doing here? I'm supposed to have died, so I should be in the other world with my friends and beloved," while scratching his head confused. "Kami. You see, you are a very powerful being, and before you go to rest in peace, I would like to give your powers to a person," making a charismatic smile. "Meliodas. And may I know who you will give my powers to?" Crossing his arms with some curiosity. "Kami. Of course." Suddenly a sphere appeared between the two that showed a white-haired man with ruby-colored eyes that resembled a rabbit fighting against some creatures. "Kami. This is a different world from the one you know, and he is Bell Cranel. He is a boy with a pure and white soul, whose dream is to become a hero to save people and make them happy. In this world there are gods and a giant structure called dungeon, within which creatures called monsters are generated, and there are people who are in charge of eliminating these creatures called adventurers, for money. Bell Cranel is an adventurer who is just forming his path, and I would like to offer him my support by giving him your powers." Meliodas. A little thoughtful. "Well, it's fine with me that you give him my powers, but won't it be difficult for him to control them?" "Kami. Don't worry, at first it will only control a small part of your power, and as it evolves, it will unlock all your powers." Meliodas. "Okay, then you can proceed to give him my powers," with a smile. Kami. "Okay, and thanks for accessing." XXXXXX. There was a white-haired man on the 5th floor of the dungeon while he finished killing a goblin. Bell. "Oof, I think I've worked too much for today. I'd better return to the surface while collecting the last magic stone." Suddenly the white-haired man's thoughts were interrupted by a roar that made him shudder. Ruire. From 1 second to the next, a figure of more than 2 meters tall, muscular, with brown fur, blood-red eyes and horns on his head appeared. Bell. A minotaur. "What's it doing here? Minotaurs are supposed to spawn from the 15th floor onwards," thought the white rabbit. Without thinking twice, the level 1 adventurer started running through the dungeon chased by the minotaur. Bell Cranel ran and ran until he came across a dead end. The moment Bell turned around, the monster was already behind him, and he raised his fist, throwing it with all his strength and fury towards the white-haired man. He stood in front of the creature frozen with fear. He did nothing but close his eyes and wait for his death. Bell. "I'm sorry Kami-sama," while shedding a few small tears. Without feeling any kind of physical pain towards the Bell, he began to slowly open his eyes to find the frozen minotaur and all its surroundings with a strange aura. Bell. "What's going on?" With some intrigue. Sate, a voice sounded in the room just behind the motionless minotaur. The person began to walk slowly towards the adventurer until he was at a relatively close distance. He was a short man with somewhat elegant black and white clothes, with blonde hair and emerald eyes. "Hello. Bell Cranel." "Bell. Who are you? What's going on? And how do you know my name?" Very confused and a little scared. "Meliodas, my name is Meliodas, and I am one of the 7 deadly sins, the sin of wrath, the dragon." Bell. "Hey." With an innocent child's face. Meliodas. "I know this is confusing for you, but I'll explain it to you," making a friendly smile. After the explanation. Bell. "So Mr. Melodies, do you want to give me your powers?" Very intrigued by everything the short man had told him. Meliodas. "That's right, and so that using them doesn't become too complicated for you, I'll also share with you my memories and experiences," while raising his arm towards Bell and opening his hand. "Are you ready?" Bell. Thinking about all this for a bit and remaining silent for a couple of minutes. "Yes. Please." Meliodas. "Then where am I going?" In an instant, a pressure so great that it could make first-class adventurers tremble formed in the area they were in. Meanwhile, Bell received all of Meliodas' memories and experiences, and in less than 20 seconds he had already obtained them all. Bell. Wow, he had a sad life but in the end very interesting and happy Mr. Meliodas, with a neutral face and closed eyes. Bell opened his eyes and looked at his body in search of any physical changes, but in the end he found nothing. Meliodas. Calm down, when you develop your body and abilities you will feel different. By now you are relatively regular in power. Bell. Exactly how strong am I now? Asked the rabbit. Meliodas, in that state called base state, you have a power around 3,500, but when you use the demonic mark, you will be added a total of 10,000 power points. Note. The adventurer's power levels are: Adventurer level 1. 3,500. Adventurer level 2. 8,000. Adventurer level 3. 12,500. Adventurer level 4. 16,000. Adventurer level 5. 21,500. Adventurer level 6. 26,000. Adventurer level 7. 30,500. In conclusion, Bell in his base state would be just as strong as a level 1 adventurer at the end of the path, and using the demonic mark, he would be slightly stronger than a level 3 adventurer at the beginning of the path. Bell. Wow, incredible. Bell was very surprised because his guild advisor had told him about the power levels of each adventurer level. Meliodas. Well, it's time for me to go to the other world with my friends and Elizabeth. Take care of yourself Bell Cranel and use my powers well, with a smile between teeth. Bell. Yes. I promise I'll make good use of your powers, I promise, and thank you very much. While giving a small bow. Meliodas. Goodbye. Take care, kid, as he started to unban. The first second that Meliodas disappeared, time returned to its original course, and the Minotaur threw a fist centimeters from Bell causing him to prepare, generating his demonic mark above his right eye to dodge and counterattack, but he didn't have time because the Minotaur had already cut him in half, causing blood to splatter on Bell's face, and almost the entire upper part of his body. After the monster disappeared into stardust, a female silhouette could be seen. She had a thin body, pale skin, eyes and hair of the same color. Golden. Are you okay? Bell, in the presence of such beauty, could only remain silent. Chapter 1. Chapter 1. The Demon Rabbit. Note. Everything will be almost the same as in the original Danmachi story, only this Bell, thanks to Meliodas' powers, will be more broken, and there will be some differences compared to the original story, but not too many. It was a sunny day. The people of the Dungeon City or area walked through the streets happily, however there was a presence that stood out a lot from the other people. It was a white-haired man who was running through the streets of the city, but with the entire upper part of his body stained in blood, causing him to stain everything in his path when he passed by a business stall, causing people to look at him and make fun of him. Not caring about the comments of the people around him as he passed a rabbit stained in blood, now he visualized the person he wanted to talk to. Bell. Ina-san. Ina. Ah. Bell K-Aya. Bell. Ina-san. While waving his arm in greeting, please tell me everything you know about Ace Wallenstein. Once inside the guild, he proceeded to explain everything that happened with the Minotaur, but leaving out the part where Lord Meliodas gives him his powers. Ina. Bell-kun, don't scare me like that. Next time you have to clean yourself up before entering the guild, in a scolding tone. Bell. Yes, I'm sorry Ina-san, putting a regretful face, although with my new strength, I could have easily defeated him, Bell thought. Ina. And that was also very silly, going to the 5th floor of the dungeon and only being level 1, and also having only been an adventurer for a month and a half. And not only that but you survived the attack of a level 2 Minotaur, you're very lucky, but I'm glad you're okay, making a very friendly smile. Bell. Well, leaving that aside, could you please tell me what you know about Ace Wallenstein? Ina. Well, she is currently a level 5 adventurer, she belongs to the Loki family and has the title Sword Princess. Bell. Yes, I already know that. What I want to know is about the things he likes, his favorite food, and if he has, being interrupted by Ina. Ina. Does he have someone as a partner? Saying it with a playful face. Bell. Yes. Making an excited face. Ina. Bell-kun, let me tell you that she is out of your league, since she has rejected more than 1,000 love requests. Bell. Making a face of being overwhelmed and sad at the same time. Ina. Just think this, you just joined the Hestia Familia, and being with a high-ranking adventurer of the Loki Familia like Miss Wallenstein would be a big problem. Bell. With a disappointed face, yes. Ina. Hey, don't be discouraged, come on, go exchange the magic stones you collected today. Bell. Okay, heading to the magic stone exchange part. Bell. This is all I have. Stranger. Okay, here are 1,200 valis. Bell. Thank you very much. Bell. Okay, Ina-san, see you tomorrow, discouraged. Ina. Wait Bell-kun, making Bell stop and turn around, if you try hard and become strong, you might be able to be with Wallenstein-san, saying it in an encouraging voice. Bell. Yes. Thank you very much Ina-san, I love you. Making her blush slightly and the other coworkers make fun of her a little. Already out of the guild. Bell's thoughts. Bell. I promise you Ace Wallenstein that I will be worthy of being by your side, I don't care how hard the road is, I will get there. Screaming inside his heart. Arriving at an abandoned church. Bell went down to the basement opening a door. Bell. I'm back Kami-sama. Hestia. Welcome Bell-kun. Says this and rushes towards him and hugs him, are you okay? How did it go in the dungeon? Bell. Well I almost got thrown in the dungeon today because of a minotaur. Hestia. What? It would really be terrible if something bad happened to you, while checking her whole body with a worried voice. Bell. I'm fine Kami-sama, I could never leave you alone, besides I'm the only member of the Hestia family, forming a warm smile. Hestia. I'm glad to hear that, oh and Bell, I have a surprise for you, with a happy voice. Bell. What is Kami-sama? Hestia. This, pointing to a plate with boiled potatoes. Bell. Wow how did Kami-sama get that? Hestia. Remember today was my first day at work. Well, one of the customers who bought today had some leftover potatoes, so he let me bring them. Bell. That's great Kami-sama, applauding a Hestia with a proud face. Hestia. While eating one of the potatoes, lately I haven't been able to find people who want to join my family, I guess it's because I'm a very little known goddess, making a sad face. Bell. Don't worry Kami-sama, the Hestia family has just been formed. I know that soon more people will want to join, so until then, let's keep trying, with a charismatic voice and smile. Hestia. Changing mood, yes. You're right Bell-kun. After dinner, Bell began to get ready to tell him everything that happened with Mr. Meliodas and his powers. Bell. Kami-sama, I have something to tell you, becoming very serious, making Hestia worry a little. Hestia. What is Bell-kun? Bell. Well you see. Bell told Hestia everything about how he met this person named Meliodas, how he gave her his powers and memories. When he finished telling her everything to her goddess, she couldn't believe what her follower had said, wondering if this was some kind of joke. Hestia. Bell-kun, are you telling the truth? Being a little shocked and very stunned. Bell. Yes Kami-sama, I am telling the complete truth, being very serious. Hestia. Bell-kun you know that I am very old right? Not only are you telling me that there are other worlds apart from ours, but also that there is an entity that is above the gods, saying this as if she couldn't believe it. Bell. That's right goddess, I'm not sure if all this is true, but I promised Lord Meliodas that I would use his powers well and fairly. Hestia. Well Bell-kun, there is only one way to verify if everything you told me is true, you have to update your status. Bell. Yes, Kami-sama, then he takes off his shirt, revealing his back. Hestia. Please lie down on the bed. Making Bell do it and Hestia climb on top of him and then with a knife, cut the tip of her index finger a little and then let a drop of blood fall on the white-haired man's back. Starting with Bell's status update, the number of his attributes rose like foam, making Hestia freeze in astonishment. Once this was over, Hestia took out a sheet of paper to transfer the information from his back to this one, saying the following. Bell Cranel LV.1. Strength. B725. Resistance. C612. Dexterity. C633. Agility. A821. Magic. B709. Total. 3,500 power points. Skills. Full counter. This ability can return any magic attack with double the force, an object that can be used as a weapon is needed to use it. Physical clones. This ability allows you to generate a maximum of 6 physical clones, but with the disadvantage that for each clone, it will only have a part of the power of the original user, except for this one. Demonic mark. Generates a black and red mark in the user's right eye. This mark causes the user to have an increase in power around 10,000 points and can also create all kinds of weapons with the power of darkness, obtain superhuman resistance and accelerated regeneration. Assault mode. Locked. King of the Demons. Locked. Development skills. Lyris Freeze. Increases the user's growth rate while their feelings persist. The intensity of the effects is related to the intensity of the user's feelings. As a side effect, it makes them immune to charms. Note. I know that the physical clone's ability is from Meliodas' sacred treasure and not his, but since Bell has it I put it as one of his abilities in his state. Bell, upon reading everything that was written on the sheet of paper, was in shock and with his mouth open, still not believing it was true. Bell. So it's all true, with a neutral face. Hestia. It seems so. Bell-kun. L. C. Kami-sama. Hestia. You have to promise me that you won't tell anyone about your power and abilities, because otherwise families blinded by power and greed will want to take you over and use you as a tool, no matter what, saying it with a serious face, but worried at the same time. This made Bell shiver and left him thinking for a few seconds. Bell. Okay Kami-sama, I promise, making a smile. Hestia. I'm glad you say that, okay then I think tomorrow in the dungeon you can test your new strength, but please don't exaggerate. Bell, see Kami-sama. The next day at 6 a.m., Bell woke up and put on his adventurer's gear. Once ready, he whispered goodbye to his goddess and headed off to the dungeon. While on his way to the dungeon, a person unexpectedly called him. Sorry, you forgot this, extending his hand to show a magic stone. Bell. Oh, thanks, that's strange. I thought I had changed them all yesterday, saying this, somewhat surprised. Excuse me, are you an adventurer? Bell. Yes I am, and by the way I am Bell Cranel, nice to meet you, gives him a friendly smile. Sir. My name is Sir Flova. I work as a waitress at the Lady of Plenty. It's a pleasure, Bell-san, returning the smile. Sir is a human girl. She has blue-gray hair that she keeps tied in a small knot in a ponytail. Her eyes are the same color as her hair and she has smooth peachy skin. She wears a white blouse and a knee-length skirt. She also wears a slightly oversized apron around her waist. She wears a pair of brown boots over black tights. Bell. Well, thank you very much again, while bowing slightly, I have to go now. He was interrupted by the sound of his stomach growling. Because he left home without first having breakfast. Sir. Oh, wait a minute. And she goes inside the bar behind her. After a couple of minutes her appears with a packed lunch in her hands. Sir. Here, I'll give you my lunch, giving a cheerful smile. Bell. I can't accept this. Besides, you just met me. Sir. Don't worry, when the bar opens I'll be able to eat something and also change the lunch. How about at night you come to the Lady of Plenty to eat something, saying all the above with a flirtatious smile. Bell. Okay, she's very clever, I fell into her trap. Bell, already being in the dungeon, decided to go first to the third floor to try out everything new he had. Arriving at the floor, the first thing he ran into was a goblin. The white-haired man became defensive and concentrating he generated his demonic mark that appeared in his right eye. Already with the mark the goblin of lasso to attack, but Bell saw the goblin move in slow motion due to the great difference in power, causing him to punch him in the face, causing him to die and turning into stardust. After that Bell heads towards the 12th floor, easily destroying any monster that got in his way. Reaching the floor he could see a herd of orcs around about 7. Bell being still in his place, he closes his eyes to concentrate again, but this time he uses his ability, physical clones, making 6 bells appear. After that each one rushed at an orc to fight him. One punched one of the orcs in the stomach, passing through it and killing it instantly. Another gave a spinning kick towards the orc's head, killing it. Another grabbed one of its legs and tied it to a wall on the 12th floor with a force that would match that of a level 5 adventurer, causing it to be shattered by the impact and die. Another shattered its neck. Another cut it in half with his bare hand, and the original Bell stopped with his fingers. A mace aimed at him from the orc, shattering it to pieces and then giving it a left hook to the head, causing it to die. And finally there was the last orc, who was scared by the white-haired creature that had ended the lives of his companions in an instant, and that all of Bell's clones disappear, and the white-haired adventurer forms a sword of darkness in his right arm. They then use it by cutting the orc into many small pieces in a flurry of simultaneous blows. After eliminating the monsters, Bell screams inside himself. Bell. You'll see, Ace Wallenstein. It will make me strong, so strong that I can become the best hero of Arario and be able to be by your side, saying all this with great enthusiasm and confidence. Chapter 2. Bell, after finishing off more than 100 monsters in the dungeon, went to the guild to exchange the magic stones he had collected. Bell headed to the guild with a happy and animated face, thanks to the great progress he had made today. Once finished with that he went to the Lady of Abundance to eat something as he promised. Sir, being in front of the door of the bar, Sir came out of it to receive Bell. Sir. Bell, you came, saying this with a smile. Bell. Yes, I promised you, didn't I? Once inside the restaurant, Sir directed Bell to a seat right in the corner of the dining room. Once seated, Bell waited for his food. When it was served, he was left with a perplexed face because of the large bowl of noodles they had served him. Leah. So you're Sir's friend, you're too cute for an adventure. Bell. Oh well, thanks. After Bell spoke, he began counting the money he had to see if he could afford the large bowl of noodles, thinking he didn't want to spend too much so he could save money for his family. Suddenly, Mia brought him out of his thoughts by placing another giant bowl of fried fish next to him. "V. Are you hungry? Here's the special," saying this in a friendly way. Bell. I didn't order it, but hey, it would be a waste not to eat this delicious food, Bell said with a smile. Mia. That's the attitude, boy, said Mia, shouting a little. Then Bell wondered how much the special was and turned his head to the right to see the price on a sign that said the value of each dish. After calculating what everything would cost him in total, he got a little worried, but in a second he got that thought out of his head and prepared to enjoy the food. Sir began to talk to Bell while he ate about how interesting it is to work in this place and about the funny stories he hears from the adventurers. From one moment to the next, one of the waitresses shouted, "Waitress. Naya, the guests who booked have arrived." From the main door of the business you could see a group of people entering. All the other customers whispered, "It's the Loki family," making Bell surprised. In a blink the White Rabbit could recognize a female figure, making him blush. This female presence was none other than Ace Wallenstein, the woman Bell was madly in love with. The group of adventurers, made up of the most skilled and strongest members of the Loki family, sat at a table that was right in the center of the entire place. These people were Lefiya Filvis, a second-class level 3 elf adventurer. She is a mage in training to succeed. She has a magic that allows her to use any elven magic, hence the alias Thousand Elf. Loga is a first-class level 5 werewolf adventurer. He was the captain of the Viter family until they left the city. His adventurer nicknames are Vanargand and Fenris. Aerith Landrock, a first-class level 6 dwarf adventurer and a high-ranking executive of the Loki family. His adventurer nickname is Elgrim. Reverial Joe's Elf. She is a first-class high elf adventurer, level 6. She is the vice-captain of the Loki family. Her adventurer nickname is Nine Hells. Vin Damned, a first-class level 6 adventurer Palom. He is the captain of the Loki Familia and his adventurer nickname is Braver. Fiona Hiryud, a first-class human adventurer, level 5. She is the younger twin of the Hiryud sisters. Her adventurer nickname is Amazon. Hein Hiryud, a first-class human adventurer, level 5. She is the older twin of the Hiryud sisters. Her adventurer nickname is Jormungand. Loki. She is the leader and goddess of the Loki family. End of information. Everything happens just like in the original story. Bet begins to insult Bell, saying that he is a weak trash that does not deserve even to be standing next to Ace Wallenstein, and this one, before the great fury and helplessness felt, could not contain himself. In an instant Bet's mockery and laughter were interrupted by a great murderous aura that emerged from Bell that would surpass that of the Rex monsters of the dungeon, and along with this an immense pressure throughout the dining room. All the people present in the Lady of Abundance felt this, and each and every one of them shuddered with fear, even those of the Loki family who were all first-class adventurers. Finn, the captain of the family, could barely move due to the enormous pressure and fear that he felt, as well as his companions. However, they all managed to move enough to see where such a murderous aura was coming from. Everyone looked towards a corner of the place and could see a boy with snow-white hair and ruby-colored eyes who watched them with a chilling gaze, but he didn't only look at the group but at one person in specific, Bet, making the others notice, and this werewolf began to sweat. Inside Bell there was a struggle between his desire to destroy that werewolf, but he told himself that no matter how painful it was the truth. Faced with the pure truth, the white-haired adventurer could only become depressed, and in a burst of speed, he stood up and ran out of the place, causing the floor where he passed to crack. Already outside the place and without anyone in sight, the pressure and the murderous aura disappeared along with that white rabbit. Ian. What the heck was that? While breathing a sigh of relief. Finn. I have no idea, but whoever it is has immense power, saying this with a serious face. A's thought. Was that the boy? Thinking this with curiosity and some intrigue. Change of scenery. There was a white-haired adventurer running through the streets of Arario at night with tears in his eyes, cursing his weakness. Bell. Damn, damn, damn. He screamed incessantly inside his being, I'm so pathetic, I hate myself. Bell thought. Bell headed to the dungeon to let out some steam and become stronger. Once in the dungeon, Bell was killing monster after monster mercilessly and ridiculously fast. Without realizing it, he had reached the 16th floor. He put aside the fact that he was on that floor, because suddenly all that came to mind as he ran to the entrance of the 17th floor were the things that Bet had told him. Even if it hurt, it was true, and that is what most enraged this demon adventurer. Bell had reached the 17th floor. You could see the wailing wall and how it cracked to give notice of what the boss of the 17th floor, Goliath, was doing. Bell had his eyes on the ground, ignoring the huge creature that was approaching him. The only thing Bell could think about was the words of that werewolf, causing an intense flame of anger to burn inside his being. In a second, the adventurer's body was engulfed in black flames, causing Goliath to recoil in fear. Bell's upper body was torn to shreds, with almost nothing left. Black marks with some purple markings could be seen all over his body. Note. Bell's demonic marks are black with some red when he is in a normal state, but when he loses control, his marks are black with some purple like Meliodas. And also that Bell, when he is consumed by anger and changes to this transformation, he adds a total of 23,000 power points. In conclusion, Bell in this state would be just as strong as a level 6, but the disadvantage is that he is not conscious when fighting, so he unleashes all his power without control. End of the note. Bell, in a state completely opposite to sanity, generated a wing of darkness on his right arm. But this Bell flies directly towards Goliath to be able to stand face to face with a gigantic monster. Already being only about 2 meters from Goliath's face in the air, Bell disappears in an explosion of speed to attack multiple parts of the monster's body, making cuts everywhere from feet to head. Finally, with Goliath very weakened, Bell generated a huge axe of darkness and lunged at the creature to then be split in half. Without even being close to satisfying his thirst for blood, Bell killed without stopping all the monsters he saw. Without being conscious, Bell had reached the 34th floor of the dungeon. Bell, a little after reaching that floor, became conscious again, but he was still furious, and all he did was kill as many monsters as he could, being like that all night, killing around about 400 monsters. Change of scenery. There was a Hestia with a somewhat sad face outside the church waiting for her follower. Hestia's thought. "Bell-kun, did you abandon me?" saying the latter with a depressed face. Suddenly, a white-haired boy could be seen in the distance with his entire upper body uncovered and stained with blood. Hestia, seeing this, immediately went to attend to her son, arriving right in front of Bell. He threw himself to the ground but was grabbed by Hestia while she hugged him. Hestia. With a worried tone, "Bell-kun, why are you like this? What happened to you?" "Bell, Kami-sama." Hestia. "What's up, Bell-kun?" "Bell. I want to be stronger," he raised his head to say while making a weak smile. Hestia. "Okay, you can count on me," returning the smile. Chapter 3. The Hunt. After Bell arrived home all battered with his goddess, he had already recovered and was now updating his status. While the white-haired boy was lying face down on the bed very calmly, Hestia was with her mouth wide open, so surprised was she by the increase in her child's condition. "Bell. Is everything okay, Kami-sama?" Hestia. As. "Bell. What?" Hestia. "You've leveled up." "Bell. What?" Hestia, super excited, screamed at the top of her lungs, causing a certain white rabbit to do the same with a blank face, unable to believe what her goddess had said. After calming down, Hestia proceeded to transfer all the information to a blank sheet of paper. Bell Cranel LV.2. Strength. A834. Resistance. B759. Dexterity. B766. Agility. S913. Magic. A802. Total. 7,574 power points. Bell had a face of incomparable happiness, telling himself, "I'm one step closer to my goal." While Hestia was still processing what was happening. Hestia. Is this even possible? He leveled up in a very short time, and that's not the most impressive thing, but when you level up your attributes are supposed to reset to 0, but that didn't happen to him, on the contrary, all of them went up, Hestia thought. Hestia. Hey, Bell-tun. Bell. What's up, Kami-sama? Hestia. From what I know, when adventurers level up all their attributes start from 0, but yours actually increased. Why did this happen? Bell. I think it's because of my demonic power, apparently it allowed me to maintain my abilities and having Lyra's freeze increased them. He says this while crossing his arms. Note. Bell in the story will be a little more intelligent and cunning, besides that on some short occasions, he will have a bit of Meliodas' personality. Bell. But you know, besides that my power increased so much that I'm almost at the point of becoming a level 3, he said it with a smile. Hestia, understanding this, gave a big smile because she knew that the boy next to her was going to be the strongest adventurer in Arario. Hestia. Well, Bell-kun, tomorrow you will have to inform the guild about your level up. Bell, we are the same. The next morning, more precisely at 6 a.m., Bell had already gotten up, put on his outfit, and then left his home to go first to the Lady of Abundance to pay what he owed from the other night when he left without paying because of what had happened. Everything happens the same as in the original story. Bell, having apologized and paid for the meal, went to the guild to inform his advisor about his level up. Once inside the guild, Bell spotted Ina at the counter sorting through some papers. Bell. Ina-san. Ina. Oh, Bell-kun, good morning. Bell. Good morning, Ina-san, I came to report something very important, making a huge smile. Ina. What is it about? Bell. Well, you see, still smiling. Ina. Let it go, saying it with curiosity, so I had to say that according to him, it was very important. Bell. I've leveled up he. Ina. I see you leveled up, wait what? You got to level 2 in a month. Shouting so that everyone at the reception can hear it, both the workers and the adventurers. Bell. Ina-san, please don't shout. Ina. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have shouted that, please forgive me Bell-kun. Bell. It's okay Ina-san, after all my information will eventually have to be displayed to the public so don't worry, trying to calm the half-elf. Ina. It's fine if you say so. Well, if you've leveled up, then you're supposed to have gained a skill. Tell me, what skills did you get? Those who have read the manga will understand this part. I'm too lazy to write the so. Time skip. After Bell told Ina about the skills available to her, she decided to get the luck skill, which is like a kind of divine protection. Once at the church, Hestia proceeded to put the skill into Bell's status, and next to it appeared another one that said Argonaut. Bell, Argonauta. Hestia. Apparently that's your new ability he, speaking with a flirtatious face. Bell. Yes Bell thought, wait, the adventurer's abilities are a reflection of their innermost desires, so. Hestia. He the little bunny wants to be a hero. Bell. Kami-sama don't make fun of me please. From here on, everything happens just like in the original story. Hestia goes to the meeting with the gods to give nicknames to the adventurers who have leveled up. Once back home, she went straight to tell her attendant her adventurer nickname. Hestia. I'm back Bell-kun. Bell. Welcome Kami-sama, and how are you? What's my nickname? Hestia. Your nickname is good but funny at the same time he. Bell. Come on, tell me already. Making an excited face. Hestia, Dark Rabbit. Bell. Really? Making a face somewhere between disappointed and serious. Hestia. Totally. Hestia. By the way Bell-kun, today I will have to leave for about 2 or 3 days for some matters, making a flirtatious face. Bell. Okay Kami-sama, but be careful, giving him a smile. The next day, Bell got up early as usual to go to the dungeon. He had a good biological clock thanks to having worked on a farm since he was little. While on his way to the dungeon, a catwoman in a maid outfit approached him and called him. It was Anya, one of the maids of the Lady of Plenty. Anya. Hey. Pili Blanco con Naya. Bell, he. Yo. Anya. Good morning Naya. Gives a small bow. Bell. Good morning. Also bows. Bell. Well, what do you need me for? Anya. You see, I need you to give this to her Sir Naya, she says this while giving her a small wallet. Bell. Sorry, but I don't think I understand very well. Ryu. Anya, you haven't explained it well to Mr. Cranel-san. L. He. Anya. But what are you saying Ryu Naya? I told her clearly that she had to give Sir her wallet because she forgot it here because she was in a hurry to go to Monsterphilia Naya. L. Oh, I understand, but what is Monsterphilia? Ryu. Monsterphilia is a special event held annually by the Ganesha family. It features monster tamers showing off their skills in the Colosseum with monsters brought in from the dungeon. L. Okay, thanks for the information. Well, I'll go give this to Sir, with your permission. L, after getting far enough away from the girls so they wouldn't see him, went into an alley and then activated his demonic mark. L. That way I'll be able to search for her better and faster. I'd better go along the rooftop so I can spot the best one in the crowd. Having said this, Bell took a bunny hop, reaching the roof of a house and starting to go from roof to roof at enormous speed so that no one would detect him, looking for some female figure with ash gray hair. After walking around for about 15 minutes looking for her, he couldn't find her and he began to think about other things. Bell. Where is he? Putting his hand on his chin, maybe he's already in Monsterphilia, I'll check the Colosseum. Already decided the adventurer ran towards the great Colosseum that was not so far from his position. Being in front of the main entrance of the Colosseum, Bell surrounded it going to the opposite side where there was no one, taking advantage of this Bell began to climb it reaching the top. He could see a large crowd watching a man with a cape and mask who was fighting a monster with a whip. The white-haired man could not against the person he was looking for among so many presences. Trying to not be noticed at the top of the Colosseum, Bell continued searching for Sir until, thanks to his improved hearing, he could hear a scream in the distance. He immediately went to the place of the screams which was at the other end of his current position a few meters away. Upon arriving at the scene, Bell could see about 2 adventurers, probably level 1. One was on the ground badly injured and another was trying to fight a gorilla-type monster with white fur and chains. Bell. A silverback, what the hell is he doing here? Without a second thought, the white rabbit jumped towards the 2 adventurers to help them. Without either the adventurers or the monster itself noticing, Bell had already cut the Platiata back in half, leaving only its magic stone. Bell. Hey, are you okay? Adventurer. Yes, thank you very much for saving us. Adventurer 2. Same here, hey aren't you the dark rabbit everyone's talking about? Bell. That's me. Leaving the 2 adventurers surprised, the second adventurer tried to stand up but was too injured and weak. Bell, seeing this, took out a healing potion he had bought from the Maich family to give to the adventurer. Bell. Take this, you'll feel better. Adventurer 2. Thank you very much. L. So, where did that silverback come from? Adventurer 1. Some monsters escaped from Monsterphilia and they sent us to bring them back, but since we are level 1 we couldn't do anything, we are from the Ganesha family. L. I see, so there's some other monster nearby. Adventurer 2. Yes, we saw several people chasing a small goddess, we wanted to help her, but at that moment we were attacked by that silverback. L thought. Little goddess. L. By chance, did that goddess have black hair tied in 2 pigtails? Saying this with concern. Adventurer 2. Yes, that's right. L. Where is it? Adventurer 2. We saw her on Main Street. Hearing this, Bell shot out with a speed that caused a great gust of wind wherever he went, searching everywhere desperately to make sure nothing would happen to his goddess. From one second to the next he could hear screams along with loud banging sounds, causing him to rush to the place where they came from, arriving at the place that was an alley near the main street they had. 2 lizardmen, a lizardman monster. A firebird, a rare bird type monster that attacks using fire. 3 hobgoblin, a stronger version of goblin that can reach up to 2 meters in height. And a troll. A humanoid monster. All these monsters were from the 19th to the 24th floor of the dungeon, thought Bell. When he finished analyzing the monsters, the white-haired man could see that they were looking at a small woman with black hair tied in 2 pigtails who was against the wall, scared to death, breathing heavily and with her legs about to give way, letting it be known that she had been running a lot. The creatures were approaching the goddess, making Dine immediately Bell stand in front of his goddess and then see that the monsters stopped. L. Everything is fine, Kami-sama, I will protect her, getting into combat pose. Hestia. Bell-kun, you came to save me, saying it with tears in her eyes. Hestia was extremely happy to see that her only son came to save her. While the monsters were preparing to attack, the first was a hobgoblin that disappeared in the blink of an eye because Bell had already embedded a fist straight into its stomach, piercing it without any effort. The other monsters seeing this began to get scared when they saw how the white-haired adventurer had killed their companion so easily. After that, the 2 lizardmen pounced on Bell. He dodged them without problems, but what he hadn't realized was that the firebird threw a great flame of fire at his goddess. Bell, seeing this, centimeters away from the flame hitting the small goddess, he stood in front of her, covering her with his body, receiving the blow. The adventurer, with severe burns on his back, could barely form a small sword of darkness to then use it to stab the firebird that was flying above them. For this, Bell jumped very high until he was at the same height where the firebird was and then decapitated it with the sword. When Bell went down he was very weakened, so the 2 lizardmen from before took advantage of this and gave multiple blows to the defenseless rabbit until leaving him almost out of combat, but before one of them gave the final blow, Bell grabbed him by the head and slammed him against a wall, destroying his skull, and the other took him by the snout and then used both hands to open his mouth with all his strength, destroying his jaw little by little, while he writhed in pain to finally die. Bell, too weakened, took the only potion he had left, since the other he had given to that badly wounded adventurer, but this barely recovered him a little. The 3 remaining monsters looked at the white-haired man with thirst for blood and terror at the same time. Hestia, seeing the condition that her follower was in, decided to help him by giving him the gift she had prepared for him. Hestia. Bell-kun, here. She pulled out a large object that was wrapped in a blanket behind her back. L. What is this, Kami-sama? Hestia. It's a sword made by Hephaestus herself. This sword is alive, it will grow with you, use it to defeat those monsters. She says this while looking at Bell with a determined face. L. Understood, Kami-sama, and thank you very much. L, putting himself on guard with his new sword, lunged at the 2 remaining hobgoblins and cut them in half without even having to exert any strength on his part. L thought. This sword is very sharp, it cuts like nothing, and not only that, but I feel stronger with it. Already out of his thoughts, Bell stared at the last monster left. It was the troll. Bell, already very tired, used the last of his strength to cover his sword with a black flame, causing the hieroglyphics on it to turn black with red. Bell gave a great scream that was heard by a certain individual who was witnessing the fight. The rabbit jumped forward and then cut it into millions of pieces with an exaggerated speed, causing the troll to vanish into stardust. Hestia. You did it, Bell-kun. Shouting this in a very happy voice. Bell. Yes, I did it. Without realizing it, Bell fell unconscious to the ground because of how exhausted and weakened he was, making Hestia very nervous and worried, who immediately approached him to check him. She could see how burned his back was from receiving the attack a few minutes ago and also noticed many bruises, especially on both arms and almost the entire upper part of the body. Trying to see if there was anyone around, since it seemed like a desolate area, she asked whoever was nearby for help. Which she quickly got since a female figure was approaching. Hestia. Ah, it's you. Chapter 4. Chapter 4. A swordswoman. There was a white-haired man lying on a stretcher in a room full of first aid items and the like. He was waking up, opening his eyes little by little. He sat up in bed with some pain in his body. He felt a weight on his legs, and when he saw what it was, he met his goddess who was sitting on a chair while resting her head at the foot of the bed. She was asleep, but when Bell moved out of bed, she began to wake up little by little, meeting the ruby eyes of her follower who looked at her with a quality smile. Bell. Good morning Kami-sama, are you okay? Hearing this, she jumps to Bell and hugs him with a few small drops of tears in her eyes. Hestia. Bell-kun. I'm so glad you're okay. Bell. I say the same to you Kami-sama, by the way, where are we? Hestia. We are at the hospital, since when you finished off those monsters you fainted from the fatigue and damage you had received. Bell. I see, but I have another question. Hestia. Which one is it? Bell. If I was unconscious, who brought me here? Hestia. Well it was, trying to say it with an uncomfortable face. Suddenly Hestia trying to say something was interrupted by the sound of a door opening. From this came out a thin female figure with red hair, blue clothes. Bell could tell that this person was a goddess, since the aura she gave off was very different from that of a normal person. Shorty, has your son woken up yet? Hestia. Yes, and it seems like it has nothing. Bell. Excuse me, but who are you? Loki. Oh sorry for not saying my name, I am Loki the goddess of the Loki family. It is a pleasure to meet you son of Hestia. Bell stood up from the stretcher so he could present himself properly. Bell. My name is Bell Cranel, and it is also a pleasure to meet you Loki-sama, Bose. Loki. Vala has a very polite dwarf son. Hestia. Shut up flat chest, she says this with a little anger. Loki. Well changing the subject, Bell Cranel there is someone who wants to talk to you. Bell. Someone. Why? Loki. Let's say she has some business with you, and besides she was the one who brought you here, I just followed her. Bell thought, she Loki-sama said she could be. Before Bell could think further another figure came out from behind the goddess Loki, a slim feminine figure in a white dress with blue stripes, golden hair and eyes. Bell thought. Hee. What is she doing here? Loki. My A's Tan wants to talk to you Dark Rabbit. Hestia. Well, we'll leave you two alone. You better not do anything weird, she says this last bit in a whisper. Loki. If I have to go talk to the guild about what happened at Monsterphilia, we'll see each other later A's Tan, he says the latter in a flirtatious voice. Hey. Okay. The two goddesses proceeded to leave the room leaving Bell and A's alone. Bell thought. Shit. What am I supposed to do? What do I say? Damn, I'm really nervous. The two adventurers were silent for a few uncomfortable seconds. Bell had red cheeks and A's seemed to be focused only on Bell, and so a whole minute passed until A's decided to break the silence. A's, hey. Bell? Yes. A's. I wanted to apologize to you, making a sad face. Bell, A's. It was my fault for letting that minotaur escape on the 5th floor of the dungeon, and thanks to that you got hurt, Bose, I'm very sorry. Bell seeing this could feel his heart breaking upon hearing such words. The girl he was in love with was apologizing for something that was not her fault, and you could also see how sorry she was. Bell unable to bear it any longer began to speak. Bell. Please raise your head Miss Wallenstein, saying it with a serious face. A's, still bowing, paid attention to the white-haired man. A's. See. Bell. It wasn't your fault at all, it was mine for going to a floor that was too big for me, and also you were the one who saved my life, I'm very grateful, and also, Bo, I'm sorry for running away from you when you saved me. As she finished saying this, the golden-haired princess couldn't help but feel a warm warmth in her chest, a warmth she hadn't felt for a long time, causing a smile to form on her face. A's. I'm glad. Bell. Heh, putting on a clumsy smile. Bell. Well I think we should go, don't you think? A's. See. The two left the room and then went to pay for the hospital care, having already paid that the two adventurers headed to the exit in silence until A's began to speak. A's. You have become very strong. Bell. Who, me? A's. Yes, I saw a bit of the fight you had against those monsters from the middle floors in that alley, and really for a level 2 you are quite strong. Bell. I don't think so. I might be able to handle some opponents, but I'm still a novice when it comes to combat style, and I can't even get close to my target. Bell still has a downcast face after saying everything, making A's look at him peculiarly. A's. Don't you have anyone to teach you how to fight? Bell. Unfortunately not. A's. What if I train you? Bell. Would you really do that for my lords? Bell couldn't continue speaking because A's interrupted him. A's. Just call me A's, everyone does it, don't you like it? Bell. No. Not at all, I love it, A's-san. A's. Okay, then I'll see you tomorrow morning at the North Wall. Bell. Understood. A's. Okay, bye Bell. Bell. Goodbye Ace-san. Bell and Ace went to their respective homes with a smile on their faces. Upon arriving home, Bell tells his goddess that he's going to train with Ace, which she doesn't like very much, but they end up accepting it. Bell woke up early and very happy about his first day of training with the sword process, having already put on his adventurer equipment, which was only his usual clothes and his sword. He left the church directly to the north wall. Upon reaching it, he could see Ace who was waiting for him. Bell. Good morning. Ace-san. Ace. Good morning. Bell. Well, what are we going to train today? Ace. I don't know. Ace said this with a neutral and disinterested face, making Bell wonder if this was a good idea. Bell. How about we train my fighting style? Since that's what I need to improve the most. Ace. Okay, but first show me your weapon. Bell. Okay. Bell heeded the princess's request and handed her his sword. Ace. Wow, that's a very good sword, does it have a name? Bell. Yes, it's called Hestia's sword, it was created by Hephaestus herself, this sword grows with me, if I level up she will too. Ace, upon hearing what the white-haired man said, was a little surprised that such a weapon existed. Ace. Okay, I'll teach you the stances to take his sword first. Bell was so attentive to what she was going to say and waited for her to speak. She started making strange poses with her sword, making Bell shed a comical drop of sweat. Bell. I think we should start over. Bell could not continue because Ace sent a kick to his face. Bell with some difficulty managed to dodge Ace's unexpected attack. Ace. You have good reflexes. Bell. Thanks, that was close, Bell thought. Ace gave her his sword and unsheathed his sword, but she only grabbed the sheath, leaving the sword to spare to the side. Ace. Good, Ataka. Bell immediately attacked with his sword in hand. Bell tried to slash Ace, but she easily dodged it, then tried to do it again, but also failed. In one of Bell's attacks he had left an opening, and Ace took advantage of this and landed a blow in his stomach, making the white-haired man spit saliva. Bell. Gasp of pain. Ace. You may have good reflexes, but you lack a lot of technique and strategy, and you leave many blind spots. Bell. Okay. Ace. Never lose sight of your enemy, if you do you're finished. Saying this while hitting Bell on one of his legs. They continued like this for more than 2 hours. Bell received blows from Ace continuously, and he couldn't land a single hit. Ace, seeing how tired the boy was, decided to stop for a moment. Bell. I can't even land a punch, I'm pathetic, gasp in pain. Well, we can continue. Ace was looking at Bell with a face that was hard to understand. It seems that they are angry. Ace, liar. Bell. What? What are you saying? Ace. Although it was only the end of the fight, I could see how you fought against those monsters, and all of them were from the middle floors. Bell. Well, that's it. Ace. And I could also see the mark you had on your forehead. You are containing your power. I want to know how strong you are, so attack with all your power. Bell. Ace-san, I can't, I'm worried that I'll hurt you. Ace. Don't worry, I'll be fine. Ace finished saying this and was on guard. Bell, still worried that something might go wrong, also became on guard. Ace. Come with everything. Bell did as Ace asked and activated his demonic mark, and along with this his sword was covered by a black flame. Ace, seeing this, shuddered a little, feeling the pressure of power that Bell emitted. Note. As I said before, Bell's demonic mark will give him an increase of 10,000 power points, but every time he levels up the mark will also make him evolve to 10,000 more power points, meaning that now Bell with the demonic mark has an increase of 20,000 points, and plus the points he has in his attributes, he has a power of around 28,000, and as he is level 5, he only has 20,500. Bell already prepared to attack, lunges at Ace to cut her, but inches from reaching her, Bell disappeared from one moment to the next using all his speed. Ace, still on guard, tried to see where the rabbit would attack, but could not see anything, tried to feel the presence of this, but could not. Without realizing it, Bell appeared behind her in the air. Ace tried to react as quickly as possible, but it was too late. Bell had kicked her in the chest, causing her to step back a few meters in pain. She, unable to believe what was happening, also could not react to the multiple blows that Bell threw at her. Bell, already being fed up with this, divided to leave her out of combat. His closed fist was wrapped with marks of darkness, ready to attack. Ace saw this and, being cornered, instinctively activated her only magic. Ace awakens Tempest Aerial. Ace, activating her wind magic, went directly to Bell. The golden-haired princess jumped towards the white rabbit with monster speed, such that it scared Bell himself. Ace hit him with the sheath of her sword so hard that it broke, but before it was destroyed, she sent the white-haired adventurer flying outside the walls of Aventurero. Given what had happened, Ace took her sword and launched herself outside of Aventurero in search of the adventurer, being very exalted and scared, just thinking that she had seriously injured him or worse, killed him. Ace searched and searched everywhere until she found him near some trees in a huge crater. She could see that he had not very serious wounds. Knowing this, Ace calmed down. Ace thought. Well, I should help him, he probably can't even walk because of how hurt he is. Ace's mouth fell open as she watched Bell walk out of the crater. He raised his head and looked at Ace and said. Bell. Is that all you got? Sword Princess. Bell, acting as if his wounds didn't bother him, stood back on guard with his sword, staring defiantly at his opponent. Bell. This won't end until one of us is out of the fight, he says this with a smile. Ace, unable to believe that the person in front of him had survived such a blow, decided to use his ace up his sleeve. Ace thought. I hope I don't kill him with this. Ace. Okay, if that's what you want. Suddenly an aura of wind formed all over the swordswoman's body and she puts on a very serious face. Ace. Here I go. Bell. Understood, you're not happy. Ace. Lil burn. The princess with golden hair and eyes lunged at Bell with a speed that would put Betloga to shame, with a green wind enveloping her entire body and releasing a great amount of magic from her sword. Bell didn't even flinch, he didn't make a single movement until the sword, desperate, was only a meter away from him. Bell. I knew you had a special move in store. A big smile formed on Bell's face. Ace. Nani. Bell, full counter. The magic that was going to hit Bell was returned with double the power towards Ace, causing a mini explosion. When the smoke cleared, he could see Ace with her clothes and armor destroyed, revealing a very revealing image of her body. Bell. Sate, now I do 7u7. Chapter 5. Chapter 5. A little talk. After the encounter of the adventurers known as the Sword Princess and Dark Rabbit, the victor Bell Cranel stood beside an unconscious Ace Wallenstein lying on the ground, looking at her with a lustful face. Bell's thoughts. Sate, I guess it's not bad if I play with it a little. Bell's left hand was a few centimeters away from touching one of Ace's breasts, until just in time the albino's original personality had returned. Realizing what he was about to do, Bell could only step back a couple of meters until he crashed into a tree. This one had a face like a tomato because of how embarrassed he was, unable to believe the atrocity he was about to commit. Bell thought. By the gods, what was I about to do? Hey. Without the white-haired man realizing it, a part of the powerful demon Meliodas' personality had actually remained inside his innocent mind. Bell's thoughts were interrupted by an imaginary mini Meliodas that appeared on his right shoulder. Mini Meliodas? Come on Bell, you know you want to do it, there's nothing wrong with taking care of an unconscious girl, right? In fact, she might like it. Bell. Mr. Meliodas. What are you doing here? No. Wait, that's not important right now. Trying to focus on his thoughts, Bell was interrupted again, but this time his grandfather appeared in an imaginary mini version. Mini Grandpa. Come on Bell, experience a man's adventure, make it yours, I know that deep down you want that, make your grandpa proud. Bell. Silas, and first Mr. Meliodas, I would never take advantage of a defenseless girl, and second, Grandpa, I don't want to disappoint you, but I won't, even if it's true that I'm in love with her, I would never do anything indecent to her, not like you. Mini Meliodas. Okay, party pooper Poff disappears. Mini Grandpa. Okay Bell, I'll respect your wishes, but I know you'll do it someday, mark my words. Poff disappears. Bell. Very well, I should take her to her family headquarters, but first I will attend to her wounds. After finishing saying this, Bell took out a healing potion from his small backpack and then gave it to Ace to drink, raising her head a little so she could drink it. After having cured Ace, the albino carried her, still unconscious, on his back to take her to the Loki family headquarters. Bell activated his demonic mark to be able to go faster and went through alleys to avoid the stares of the people on the street, especially those of men, since he carried on his back the beautiful princess of the sword unconscious and with her clothes torn. Bell. I hope there's no misunderstanding with your family members. Bell, after 10 minutes running, finally arrived at the Twilight Mansion, home of the Loki family. The white-haired man approached the entrance, which was guarded by 2 guards. Bell, looking at them, could deduce that they were at least level 4. When he stopped in front of these 2, they looked at him for a second with contempt, and then one of them spoke. Guard 1. You. Brat, what are you doing, carrying Miss A's, and why are her clothes destroyed? What did you do to her? Bell's thought. What I feared most happened. Bell. It's not what it looks like, I swear, I was just. Guard 2. Shut up. You damn brat, get down right now. Why is there so much scandal? What's going on? The 2 guards turned around to check who it was, and upon seeing who it was, their slightly agitated state suddenly calmed down. Guard 1. Reveria-sama. Suddenly a female silhouette appeared behind the large entrance. It was a high elf with jade-colored hair and eyes of the same color. The elf came a little closer and could see a white-haired boy with ruby-colored eyes, carrying his adopted daughter Ace. Reveria. Because you have A's on your back, kid. Bell. Ah well I was training with Asan and I got a little carried away he says this last part with a silly smile. Bell thought. I'm dead. Reveria. I see, you two let it pass. The two guards nodded and moved out of Bell's way. Reveria. Come in, you can leave her in her room. Bell obeyed the great elf and entered the mission with her. All the people inside it looked at Bell with a face of contempt and hatred, causing the rabbit to shudder a little in fear. Reveria and Bell stopped in front of a door. Bell opened it and then proceeded to leave Ace in the bed inside it. Bell left the room and decided to leave, but Reveria stopped him by putting one of her hands on his right shoulder. Reveria. Where do you think you're going? You have to explain what happened. Follow me, I'll take you to my captain. Bell just resigned himself to following the elf's orders without any comment. The two, after a short while walking, stopped in front of a large door. Reveria. Wait here. Bell. Okay. Reveria entered the room and closed the door. After a few minutes she came out and told Bell that he could come in. When he entered, the white-haired man could see a dwarf with brown hair and beard and a hobbit with blonde hair and dark blue eyes. Bell stopped in front of the writing where the hobbit was sitting and he began to ask. Finn. It's a pleasure to meet you, boy. My name is Finn Damned, the captain of this family. This is Gareth, pointing at the dwarf with his thumb, and I suppose you've already met Reveria. Bell. Yes, it's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Bell Cranel, Bo. Finn. Okay, Reveria told me you came here with Ace on your back, but why? Bell. The truth is that I was training with Asan, and let's just say it got out of hand. Finn. Thoughtful, training. Ace didn't tell us anything about it. Our goddess Loki told us that she took you to the hospital yesterday because of the fight you had and that you talked but nothing more. Bell couldn't say anything to what Finn said. Finn. Reveria also mentioned that she arrived with minor injuries and with all her equipment almost destroyed and with her clothes torn. Finn, while saying this, looked fixedly at Bell. Bell. Like I told you, we were training and I think I overdid it. Finn. Did you overdo it? Aren't you level 2? From what I've heard, you leveled up recently. Bell. Yes, that's right. Gareth. So how is it possible that a level 2 like you was able to defeat Ace when she is a level 5? Bell. I'm very sorry but I can't tell you, it's my family's information, the only thing I can say is that I have abilities. Finn. Don't worry, we understand. Well, thanks for answering our questions, you can leave now. Bell. Okay, with your permission. Bell continued to leave the Twilight Mansion, relieved that there wouldn't be a scandal. Meanwhile, the Loki family executives were discussing very seriously the curious white-haired man they had spoken to. Finn. Serious face, he's an irregular. I knew it the moment I saw him at the bar that day. Gareth. And not only that, but he also defeated Ace. Reveria. He's going to be a very powerful adventurer, we should keep an eye on him. Finn. Yes, that's a good idea. Change of scenery. Ace was registered in bed in her room still with her clothes in poor condition. More than 30 minutes had passed since Bell brought her to her family's headquarters. She began to wake up, opening her eyes little by little. When she woke up completely, she got a little confused to know that she was in her room. She got up and in doing so, she could notice her clothes torn and in a few minutes she had already changed into her usual dress, white with blue edges, after having changed. She left her room and went straight to her captain's office to ask what had happened. Ace had already arrived at the office, entered and could see the three executives. Reveria. Ace, you woke up. Ace. Yes, but how did I get here? Finn. Bell Cranel carried you here on his back. Ace. Ah. Finn. Ace, why didn't you tell us about your training with Bell Cranel? Ace. Well, he tries hard in the dungeon and wanted to get stronger and as a form of apology, I offered to train him. Reveria. We understand, but you still should have talked to us about it. Ace. Sorry. Finn. Well, that's not the most important thing anymore. From what I heard from Bell Cranel, he defeated you, is that true? Gareth. Oh, that's true, tell us, exactly how did he defeat you? Ace. Okay, I'll tell them. Thus Ace continued to tell them all what had happened to Finn, Reveria and Gareth, who as Ace's story progressed became even more surprised. When Ace finished saying everything that had happened, the three first-class adventurers were speechless at such a story. Reveria. How is it possible, a skill that allows you to return magical attacks? I've never heard of anything like that. Gareth. What intrigued me most was the part where the boy makes a mark appear on his forehead. Finn. I think the same, besides, from what we just heard, I can deduce that that mark gave extra power to that child, maybe it's a kind of magic similar to the level boost magic. Reveria. You're kind of right, but that magic is very different compared to this one. Gareth. What do you mean? Reveria. I mean they are different because level boost requires an incantation, but apparently from what Ace said, Bell Cranel did not recite any, and not only that, but level boost increases your stats one more level, but apparently this mark gives you much more power, since Ace could barely defeat that child using that mark from what I just heard from her. Ace. You are right, when he activated that mark on his forehead, he seemed like a totally different person, both in attitude and power. Finn. Well, the best option is to keep an eye on him, he's a very interesting adventurer, we might need him at some point. Aerith. Yes, it's the best, holds his beard. Reveria. I agree too. Ace. Okay, as Finn orders. Finn. Okay, then it's decided, you can leave now Ace. Ace. Understood. Reveria. I'll go with you there, I have some things to do. So Reveria and Ace left the room, walking together down the hallway. Reveria still had some doubts about Bell Cranel and Ace, so she decided to ask Ace directly. Reveria, Ace. Ace. What's up? Reveria bueno, what do you think about Bell Cranel? Ace, faced with such a question, could only remain silent for a few seconds and then respond with a slight blush on her cheeks. Ace. I think it's cute. Reveria, he. Ace. No I mean. Reveria mind. Surprised, wow, I didn't expect that, is it because of Bell Cranel? Well anyway, I'm glad she's finally showing feelings like a normal girl. Reveria. Let's go with the others, smiles slightly. Ace, see. Change of scenery. Our dear albino was lying on the sofa in his home talking to his goddess Loli about what had happened. Bell. And that's what happened. Hestia. I see, but Bell-kun, you have to be more careful, you almost got caught. Bell. Yes sorry Kami-sama. Hestia. It's okay Bell-kun, just don't rush into your new powers, well, since we're at it, how about we update your status? Bell. Okay. Bell lay face down on the bed and Hestia began to update his status, as she did so, each time her mouth would open in astonishment and when she finished updating Bell completely, she let out a scream that made the half-demon adventurer jump in fear, causing her to fall off of him. Bell. What's wrong Kami-sama? Hestia, SS leveled up. Bell, Nani. Hestia. Here, she says it with a trembling voice and a shocked face. Bell took the sheet of paper with the information on his condition that his goddess had sent. The white-haired boy jumped with joy upon seeing it and a big smile appeared on his face. Bell Cranel LV.3. Strength. S916. Resistance. A824. Dexterity. A811. Agility. S999. Magic. S905. Total. 13,029 points. Adding the points of his attributes plus the 7,574 from the previous level and plus the 1,000 points for leveling up gives him a total of 13,029 power points. Chapter 6. Chapter 6. A Hobbit. Narabelle. It's been 4 days since I started training with Asan and my level up, the day after my goddess updated my status, she went to the guild to inform me that I had leveled up, which Ina-san took in an unexpected way. Belle's memory. Our favorite white-haired man could be seen running at high speed towards the guild and with a big smile, apparently he was in a very good mood. When he arrived he looked for his advisor Ina, when he spotted her on one of the shelves where they kept documents, Belle caught her attention. Belle. Ina-san. Ina. Oh, Bell-kun, what can I do for you? Belle. Well, I have something very important to report, he smiles enthusiastically. Ina. Wow, it seems like it's something big, come on tell me, what happened? Belle. I'm up to level 3. For a long minute everything around had fallen silent, the executives, the adventurers, all the people around had fallen silent, it seemed that everyone who was relatively close to Bell had heard what he said. During those moments which were very uncomfortable for Bell, Ina decided to break the silence. Ina. Did you level up? He said this with a neutral face and without expressing any kind of emotion. Bell. Yes, is that right? Gets nervous. Ina. How long ago were you supposed to have reached level 2? Bell. About a week ago. Ina. Are you saying you leveled up in a week? Bell. Yes. Ina. Ha, she faints. Bell. Ina-san. What happened, please hold on, Ina-san. The half-elf, upon hearing what the white-haired man had said, couldn't help but faint from the shock that the news had caused her. Everyone around her was standing still without saying a word, just like Ina, they were in a state of paralysis from the impossible news that their ears had heard. End of memory. Narabelle. After Ina calmed down, she asked me to check my status, which I did without any objection. Seeing it, she believed me 100%. Then she published the information to the public. All the adventurers, when reading it, were left with their mouths open. I could hear some say that I used some forbidden ability to level up, or that I lied about my status. I really did not care what they would think when I told Ace, and she simply did not show any expression of surprise. She only congratulated me and insistently asked me how I had reached level 3 so quickly. She did not understand why she asked me so much. If a few days ago she had also leveled up, now that she was level 6 it was harder to train. Every time she noticed that I was having trouble getting up or that I got married a lot, she would tell me to use my demonic mark if the training was too difficult. To which I always replied that if I always depended on that power, I would never be able to evolve like Adventure. She just smiled at me and we continued training. Right now I'm walking home after a long day of training with Ace. She told me that her family would be going on an expedition to the dungeon in a few days, so I have to take advantage of all the time I have to learn more things, and spending time with her, even if it's just training, makes me happy to be around her. Bell. Kami-sama has arrived. Hestia. Welcome Bell-kun. How did it go with Wallen whatever? Bell. As always, Ace knocked me out several times, but I was able to learn new things. Hestia. Okay, but I don't like that he's being so harsh on you, pouts. Bell. Don't be like that Kami-sama. Ace-san doesn't even know how to contain herself very well, and I also ask her to always take it seriously. Hestia. Okay, well, shall we have dinner? Bell. Yes. The next day Bell trained with Ace as always and then went to the dungeon. Almost at the entrance he stopped to think about some things. Bell thought. I've been training a lot and have become incredibly strong, will it be enough to be by her side? I'm afraid she won't accept me. The young white-haired boy, while thinking about everything, imagined the girl he loved madly. He wanted to caress that beautiful golden hair. He wanted to lose himself in those cold, but at the same time tender honey-colored eyes. He wanted to make her smile. He wanted to support her in everything. He wanted to be her hero, more than anything in the world. As he finished thinking about his deepest desires, Belle gave a big smile of hope. Belle thought. No. Even if she herself tells me it's impossible, I will try with all my body and soul to conquer her, even if it takes me years. Bell, already ready to enter the dungeon with all the enthusiasm and determination in the world, was stopped by a voice calling him. Sir. Behind you. Bell, he. Bell turned around and in his field of vision appeared a young hobbit with brown hair and eyes, with a build around 1 meter and 20 centimeters. She was carrying a large backpack. Bell. Oh, hello, what can I help you with? You're an adventurer, right? Would you be interested in hiring a supporter? Bell. Hire a support. Supports are those who help the adventurers and are in charge of collecting the magic stones if I'm correct. That's right, sir, you're well informed, and? Are you interested in hiring one? Bell. Do you mind if we sit somewhere and talk? That seems fine to me. When the two of them sat on a nearby bench, they began to chat. Bell. Well, what's your name? Lily. My name is Lilyurka Ard. Bell. It's a pleasure to meet you Lily, my name is Bell Cranel. Lily. Likewise, Bell-sama. Bell. So you were telling me you wanted to be my support? Lily. Yes, let's say I'm promoting myself, what do you say? Would you like Lily's assistance? Bell thought. Now that I think about it, it would be much easier for me to have her collect the magic stones while I fight the monsters, since I usually kill a lot of them, and it would also save me a lot of time. Bell. Puts his hand on his chin, okay, you can be my support, but what do I have to do? Lily. You just have to sign a contract confirming that I'll be your supporter. Lily is happy to receive 30% of the profits. She says this in a friendly tone. Bell. I understand. After signing, the two entered the dungeon, both reached the 14th floor. Bell without any problem, eliminated all the monsters he found, and also defended Lily. Having spent a good while the two sat down to have lunch, Bell gave Lily some of his lunch made by Sir. Bell. Here, you have to eat to restore energy. Smiles at him. Lily. Oh, thank you. Bell. So, what family do you belong to Lily? Lily. I am part of the Soma god family. Bell. Soma. If I am not mistaken, she is the goddess who creates exotic wines, isn't she? Lily. You're right Bell-sama, Soma-sama spends every day locked in his room creating new wines. Bell. I see, and why don't you come to the dungeon with your family members? Lily. Well, let's just say I don't get along very well with them. Bell. If you don't want to talk about it, I'll understand. Lily. No, don't worry Bell-sama, it's just that it's a bit of a delicate subject. Changing the subject, you're really impressive, you're very strong, you get rid of all the monsters that appear. Bell. It's not that bad, it's true that I handle monsters well, but I really couldn't handle them all if you hadn't warned me all the times they tried to surprise me. Thank you very much, Lily. Lily. You're welcome. L. Well, shall we continue? Lily. Yes. After finishing lunch, the two continued killing monsters, Bell hid in front and killed all that were within his reach, while Lily took care of the rearguard and collected from the ground the magic stones that the monsters dropped. When the two finished after several hours of work, they left the dungeon and went to the guild to exchange all the bags of magic stones, which were many and very large. When one of the managers gave them the total of Valis, the two were left with their mouths open. Bell and Lily. 100,000 voted. L. Wow. That's a lot of money. Lily. It's impressive that you alone were able to collect more than a group of level 2 adventurers. Bell. Oh come on, don't give me all the credit. Lily. What does Bell-sama mean? L. I mean, not everything was thanks to me, but also thanks to you. If it weren't for all the times you warned me about the surprise attacks of the monsters, I would already be fried. All this was achieved thanks to both of you. I hope to continue counting on you, Lily. Bell, when finished, makes a smile and gives him half of the money. Lily was bewildered by the words that Bell had said to her, and for giving her half of the loot, she just remained silent and with a nod, accepted what was given by the albino. Bell headed home quietly, while thinking. Bell. Lily is very good, she is a very kind person, but while I was fighting I kept looking at the Hestia sword. Every time I turned around to fight she would notice my sword. Thanks to my enhanced senses I noticed this, but why? The sword would have amazed her a lot, or could it be no, I don't think she was thinking of stealing it, or was she? Well, during these days I will try to find out. Bell went to the dungeon with Lily for 3 days in a row, the two getting along better and better. Bell stood in front of a fountain where he always waited for Lily. He waited for her, but after a while the albino began to worry. Bell. Where is Lily? She doesn't usually arrive late. Suddenly a male voice caught her attention. Adventurer. Hey kid. Bell. Me? What do you need? Adventurer. You are the adventurer who goes with that art girl, aren't you? Bell. Yes, why? Adventurer. Come on, don't play dumb, he. The unknown adventurer approached Bell and put his arm on top of his shoulder. Adventurer. You and I know what she does, come on, let's give that damn thieving hobbit what she deserves and take away everything she has, he. Hearing all this, Bell felt a fury rising inside him. The white-haired man removed the man's hand from his shoulder and quickly grabbed the man's shirt. Adventurer. Hey. What do you think you're doing? The man could not continue speaking as he looked directly into the eyes of the demon in front of him. Bell looked at him with murderous and cold eyes, at the same time releasing a terrifying instinct for blood. Bell. Listen to me very well, bastard. If I find out that you touched even a hair on his head, I swear to all the gods that not even your soul will be saved when I'm done with you. The adventurer, upon feeling and hearing all this, could only make a face of pure fear and then ran away scared. Bell thought. Who the hell was that guy? Well, I don't really care, but he called Lily a thief, so it may be true, but he probably has a good reason for doing so. I know she's a good person. Lily. Bell-sama. Is everything okay? Bell. Hey. Lily. When did you arrive? Lily. I just arrived, sorry for the delay, Bell-sama. Bell. Don't worry, Lily, it happens to everyone. Bell changed his mood quickly when he noticed some bumps and bruises that Lily had. She tried to hide them, but the albino could still see them. Bell thought. But who did this to him? It was probably that guy, I'm going to kill him. Lily. Is something wrong, Bell-sama? Bell. Ah. No, nothing important, shall we enter the dungeon? Lily. Yes. The two entered the dungeon and after a while of killing monsters, the two sat down to eat lunch. Bell, as always, gave half of his lunch to Lily while they made small talk. Bell. Lily. Lily. You. Bell-sama. Bell. Look, I'll get straight to the point. Who gave you those bruises? Lily, faced with the sudden question, remained silent for a few seconds and hesitated a little before answering. Lily. I fell down a stair. Bell. Don't lie. Puts on a serious face. Lily, what? Bell. Those bruises and bumps weren't from a fall, they were caused by a person, so please tell me who gave them to you. Lily. Yo. Bell. Don't be afraid, if you have any problems you can count on me. He smiles. Lily. They were some members of my family. Bell. I see, but why did they do it? Lily. They always do it, they also take everything I have, they take advantage of me, just like all the adventurers, just because I'm weak, so. Bell. So you steal from adventurers to survive, right? How were you going to do it to yourself? You were thinking of stealing my sword, weren't you? Lily, upon being discovered, was invaded by an intense fear, which did not let her speak or much less move. She knew that Bell was extremely strong and that in a couple of seconds he could finish her off. The very scared hobbit could only look directly into the eyes of the albino adventurer in front of her. Bell, in a moderately quick movement, raised his arm and brought his hand closer to Lily. Upon seeing this, she just closed her eyes very tightly and fearfully, expecting the worst. But she froze from the great surprise that took her. Bell had put his hand on top of her head to caress her. When Bell finished, he addressed a few words to his support. Bell. Lily, I could never hurt you, because I know the kind of person you are my support, the support that was always kind to me, and the one who saved my skin on several occasions. Lily. What nonsense are you talking about? Aren't you angry? Bell. No. Lily. Why? I tried to trick you and steal from you, and you forgive me so easily. Are you an idiot? Bell. Lily, come on, calm down. Lily. I'm not going to do it. You already know what kind of things I do, like how I lie and steal from the adventurers day after day. Why me, people? I'm a bad person, the worst kind of hobbit that can exist. Bell. Nobody is perfect, Lily. Besides, even if you don't believe it yourself, I know that deep down you are a good person. Bell approaches Lily and hugs her. Bell. And that's why I forgive you, and above all, I want to help you. You've suffered a lot, right? You can count on me for anything. If someone dares to belittle you or attack you, I'll make sure to give them a good beating. Lily, upon hearing everything, began to shed a few small tears, but tried to contain herself. Lily. All the adventurers I've met have looked down on me, insulted me, beaten me, and tricked me. Bell. Sadly, there are those types of people, but there are also those who will support you when you need it, so, Lily, will you let me save you? The hobbit with brown hair and eyes could not contain herself any longer and burst into tears and cries, while she reciprocated the hug of the kind rabbit. Between sobs she asked for forgiveness again and again, until she finally dried her tears and decided to explain everything to her savior. Bell. Okay, so your family members beat you up and took all your money. Lily. Yes. Bell. But if this happens, why don't you talk to Soma-sama? Lily. Soma-sama is only interested in making his wines, he doesn't care about what happens in the family. Bell. Fine, but then why haven't you left your family? Lily. I have a debt with my family, so I can't leave them. Bell. I see, Sate, I think I know what we'll do. Lily. What are we going to do, Bell-sama? Bell. It's not obvious, we're going to collect the debt money. Lily, what? Bell. Just as you heard, we will strive to pay off that debt so you can leave your family. Lily opened her eyes as wide as she could with happiness and amazement that the demon rabbit caused her. Bell, but Lily. Lily. What's up? Bell. You don't have to steal anymore, understood? And if any adventurer crosses the line with you, just tell me and I'll make sure they never even look in the same direction as you again. Gives him a confident smile. Lily, see. Entendido, Bell-sama. After 4 days of hard work, Bell along with Lily continued collecting money so that Lily could leave the Soma family. Bell. We've raised quite a bit of money, I just hope we can collect it all as quickly as possible. Lily told me she won't be able to come tomorrow as she has a meeting with her family, and since I'll be alone, I'll try to go to the deeper floors alone to earn more money. I hope all goes well for Lily. Bell, after having dinner with Hestia and brushing his teeth, laid down on the couch and fell asleep. At dawn, Bell as always got up, put on his armor and went to the dungeon after training with Ace, reached the 19th floor, killing any monster he encountered. After several hours of hard work, Bell went to the guild to exchange his magic stones. The next day, Bell, again after training with the golden-haired princess, went to the entrance of the dungeon and waited by the fountain for Lily to arrive. However, the little hobbit did not appear. Bell thought. Where is Lily? It's been over an hour and she still hasn't arrived. I guess something came up and she can't make it. Well, I guess I'll go alone again. And so the demon-blooded adventurer re-entered the dungeon alone, his monster slaying complete. Bell went back to the guild and exchanged the magic stones for Valis, then the albino went straight home. The next day, Bell was back at the fountain waiting for his help, but sadly, no one showed up either. Bell thought. Will she not be able to come again? It's very strange, after the dungeon I'll try to find her, I hope nothing has happened to her. Unbeknownst to him, Bell wasn't so far from reality. After finishing work in the dungeon, Bell was already at the guild exchanging his magic stones. After finishing, Bell was about to leave, but his attention was caught by a group of adventurers who were in front of the notice board. The albino became curious and went to see what it was about. As he approached, he saw a poster in the center of the others, and upon reading it, Bell froze. The poster said that the support identified as Lilyruka Arda died. The information didn't say how, nor that they had found the body, but it said that his family confirmed his death. When Bell finished reading everything he felt immense pain, fury and guilt. Bell ran out of the guild wanting to cry, but he held it back until he couldn't take it anymore and simply went into a dark and desolate alley that was nearby, and upon entering it, the boy burst into tears while kneeling down. After 20 minutes, he had already let go. He stood up and began to think. Bell thought. What? Why did it have to happen? If it was a person, I swear I'll wait. The report said it didn't specify how they died and that their family claims they died. Was it them? Maybe I'm jumping the gun too soon, but what if it's true? Lily told me they mistreated her, so there's a good chance I'll go to the Soma family headquarters to gather information. And so, our dark rabbit went to the headquarters of the god Soma. No sooner arrived than Bell approached the entrance guarded by 2 guards. Everything was dark since it was 8 at night. He sensed that both were at least level 2. Bell stood in front of the entrance and one of the guards began to interrogate him. Guard 1. What do you want at this hour, kid? L. I would like to speak with Soma-sama about the recent death of one of her companions. Guard 2. Ha. You mean the art girl? If she's dead there's nothing I can do, you better go home. L. I'm sorry, but I really need to know what happened to Lily. Starts to get angry. Guard 2. What do you want to know? I'll tell you what happened to him. The trash got what he deserved, that's what happened. L, hearing this, clenched his fist tightly in anger, but asked again, this time more directly. L. Did he get what he deserved? Did you do it? Gets very angry. Guard 2. So what if we did it? She was just a small puny, weak support. She's better off dead. Gives him an evil grin. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Bell felt so angry that he couldn't contain himself. He activated his demonic mark, and in an extremely quick draw, he took out the Hestia sword and beheaded the 2 guards. Bell. You are the weak and pathetic ones. The angry albino jumped over to see the entrance to enter the headquarters, but in doing so, he did not count on some adventurers seeing him. Those who saw him alerted the others. After a few moments, more than 20 adventurers had appeared in front of Bell to stop him. I was very wrong, since Bell, having his demonic mark, had a total of 30,000 power points, plus his status points, it was a total of 43,029. That compared to simple adventurers levels 2 and 3 was nothing, so the very angry dark rabbit, in just a blink, had already finished off the 23rd and 2nd category adventurers. Bell instantly could feel 5 others who were behind him. All of them watched him in terror, but one of them was very angry. Damn you. You dare to attack the Soma family. Who are you and who sent you? Bell. First tell me who you are and I will answer you. Zenis. My name is Zenis, I am the captain of this family. Bell. Very well, my name is Bell Cranel, and I have come to ask something. Zenis. Ask something. Is this a bucking joke? L. I won't beat around the bush, so I'll get straight to the point. Did you kill Lilyruka Ard? L, completely serious and focused on his objectives, waited patiently for an answer. For a few seconds that seemed endless, there was a deep silence until someone decided to speak. Zenis. Yes, we did. L, trying to contain the fury and bloodlust he felt, asked something else again. L. Why? Zenis. Let's just say she had some really interesting magic, so we tried to use it, but she refused, saying nonsense about starting over with someone else, so we tried to persuade her, but I thought I went too far. He says it all with a small evil smile. L couldn't take it anymore and exploded in uncontrollable anger. L. How could you do something like that? She didn't deserve that. Zenis. Why? She was a thief, useless, weak, if she's dead she deserves it for not obeying her family. She was worthless. L. Shut up. Zenis. What did you say? L. I said shut your damn mouth. L, as he screamed, emitted an enormous killing intent that made everyone present shudder with fear. L. You 4, I'm giving you the chance to drop your weapons and leave, otherwise I'll destroy you all. The latter he says while looking directly at them with eyes filled with bloodlust, hatred and his demonic mark that had unknowingly spread throughout his eye. As a result the 4 adventurers who accompanied Zenis threw away their weapons and ran away screaming in fear. Zenis. What are you doing? Come back here cowards. L. It's useless, no one grows to help you. Zenis, he. Without Zenis realizing how much, Bell with his great speed had stood in front of him while looking at him with a penetrating gaze. Zenis. K. Mediduo. Zenis drew his sword and tried to cut Bell, but Bell grabbed his wrist and broke it, causing him to drop his sword as he screamed in pain. Bell took advantage and kicked him, not strong enough to kill him in the stomach. Zenis was sent flying towards one of the nearby walls and crashed into it. He spat blood from his mouth as he writhed in pain. Bell approached him and put his sword to his neck in a threatening manner. Bell. If you tell me where Lily's body is, maybe I won't kill you. Zenis. He is behind the warehouse, next to the garbage. Zennis points with his finger in great fear at a large warehouse that was behind Bell. Bell? Good. Bell, having heard what he wanted but not completely, raised his sword to attack Zennis. Zennis. Hey kid, you said you wouldn't kill me if I told you. Bell. I said, maybe I wouldn't kill you, but knowing that you threw my partner's body away like garbage and all the evil you do, I couldn't let someone like you live. Zennis. Go to hell. Bell. There you go. Bell pierced Zennis with the Hestia sword as if it were butter, then he pulled it out and looked at her lifeless body with a look between indignation and disgust, then he went to the indicated place, he walked calmly, but he was really terrified, he was not prepared to see the corpse of a loved one. When Bell arrived, he took a few seconds and opened the door. Upon entering he advanced to the back of the warehouse. When he reached the end, he could see a little girl with brown eyes and hair lying on the floor with several serious wounds. Bell was invaded by a sadness similar to when he lost his grandfather. He approached the body and touched one of her hands. He could feel how frozen and stiff it was. Instantly, he began to cry as he looked at the body of his first adventure partner. Between tears and sobs, Bell said a few words to her. Bell. I'm sorry. I promised I would protect you, I swore I would save you, I'm really sorry. Suddenly, an image of Aze, the girl he loved, appeared in his mind, and then he remembered that he wanted to be a hero, while remembering the short but beautiful time he spent with Lily. In an instant, a burning determination appeared in Bell's heart. Bell. No. I promised that I would save her, how can I be a hero if I can't even save a defenseless girl? From what Kami-sama taught me, our souls take time to rise to heaven when we die and then reincarnate. Suddenly an idea popped into his mind. Bell. If I am not mistaken, with the memories of Mr. Meliodas I could bring her back, I hope for the love of all the gods that this works. Bell activated his demonic mark and generated a small blade of darkness in his right hand, and with great delicacy and care, he opened the chest of Lily's body, then with the same hand, he made the blade of darkness disappear, and then introduced his hand into the hobbit's chest, being inside, Bell holds her heart. Bell, I hope your soul is still in your body, Lily. As he finished those words, Bell began to produce darkness in the hand that held Lily's heart. He introduced the darkness into her heart, infecting it with it. Lily's heart and body were wrapped in spots of darkness. After a few seconds Lily's eyes opened quickly, but only an infinite black could be seen. Her eyes had also been wrapped in darkness. Bell. That's it, there's not much left, hold on a little longer, Lily. After 5 minutes, Bell removed his hand from Lily's chest. He stared at her to see if something happened. However, nothing happened. At Bell's supposed failed attempt, he just lowered his head, covering his eyes with his bangs, as a sign of his pain at failing. But by chance Bell saw one of Lily's hands move. At this, the albino boy was surprised and looked at the wound on his chest that Bell made. It was marked with darkness. It was closing little by little, to the point that it seemed like it was never there. The other wounds had also died. The skin was beginning to take on a more vivid color. This made Bell very happy. Suddenly, I could hear sounds like someone getting up after a nap. That was Lily. She opened her eyes little by little, and when she managed to open them completely, she got a big surprise. Lily. Bell-sama, what are you doing here? Bell, Lily. Bell threw himself at Lily with tears in his eyes. This made Lily blush and made her confused. Lily, what? Bell. Thank goodness, tell me, how do you feel? Does something hurt? Do you feel something out of place? Lily's thought. What's happening? I don't understand anything. Lily. I feel fine and I don't feel anything strange, why does Bell-sama ask? Bell. Well, you see. Bell didn't want to lie to Lily, so I decided to tell her everything that had happened. After 20 minutes of explaining, Bell finished, and Lily was in shock from everything the albino had told her. Lily. Wow, this isn't a joke. Bell. Not at all, Lily, it's the truth, I would never lie about something like that. Lily. Wait a minute, if I was dead, how could you revive me? Bell. Well, the truth is that I'm not human, or at least I was a short time ago. Lily. What does Bell-sama mean? Bell. Sigh, I am a demon, and I use my powers to bring you back to life. Lily was stunned, she didn't know what to say. Lily. Bell. Oh yeah, by the way, now you're half demon. Lily. Quee. Chapter 7. Chapter 7. The new Hestia Familia, the demonic familia. At the Soma family headquarters, you could see what looked like the remains of a fight, but in reality, they were the remains of a bloody massacre, and the perpetrator of this massacre is none other than our favorite albino. Right now he was in a warehouse, along with his teammate Lily, who was looking at Bell with her mouth and eyes wide open from the surprise the rabbit had given her. Lily. Bell thought. Okay, this is awkward. Bell. Lily. Everything okay? Lily, Bell-sama. Bell. Yes. Lily. Could you repeat what you said, because I don't think so. Listen to me carefully. Bell. You're half demon. Lily. What do you mean I'm half demon? is that even possible? And you are too. Bell. Here we go again. Bell had to explain everything to Lily, just like he did with his goddess. When he finished explaining everything, Lily seemed calmer. Lily. Oh, so, that Lord Meliodas gave you your powers, and now you are a demon. Bell. If so, and with these demon powers, I was able to bring you back to life. Lily. Oh. Bell. Are you okay? Lily. I'm fine, it's a lot to digest. Bell. Yes, I already imagined it. Bell. Well, how about we go to my goddess? Lily. Why? Bell. Well, Lily, wouldn't you like to join my family? Lily. Join Bell Sama's family. But how? If Lily is from the Soma family. Bell. No more. Lily. What? Bell. Sighs. Look, when an adventurer dies, his god feels his death, and so at the same time, the adventurer stops having a bond with his god. In short, when you die, you lost the blessing that Soma-sama gave you. Lily. I see, well then if that's the case, I'll join your Bell Sama family. Bell. I'm glad, but before we continue I need to ask you something. Lily. And what is it? Bell. Look, just like I told you, you're a half-demon, since I infected your inanimate body with darkness and your body, upon accepting the darkness, revived. Now then. Thanks to the fact that you're a half-demon, you'll be stronger than average, you'll also be able to use my power of darkness, but with certain limitations, and your body will regenerate faster. Until now you understand, right? Lily, very surprised by the information Bell had given her, tried to respond as calmly as possible. Lily. Yes, I understand. Lily thought. Strong? Me. Thanks to Bell Sama I am strong now, but I have always been the small and weak Lily. Bell, Lily. Lily. Sorry Bell Sama, please continue. Bell. Well, as I was saying, you are a half-demon, but I can turn you into a full-fledged demon. At these words, Lily opened her eyes wide. Bell. The difference is that if you are half-demon you will only be able to control a small part of your darkness, and you will live just like your original race. But if you are a 100% demon, you can use your full potential both as a demon and from your darkness, and you will not be able to die from aging, you will live almost the same as the gods, the only difference is that you can die from other things. So here is my question. Do you want to be a demon, Lily? The little hobbit remained silent for a minute at such a proposition. She could stop being weak, and not only that, but she could live forever with Bell. That was all she ever wanted. Unable to contain herself, Lily began to shed tears uncontrollably. Bell, hey. What did I do something or say something you didn't like? Bell became somewhat nervous as he didn't know what was going through his partner's head. Lily. Sobbed. It's not that sobbed, it's just that it makes me very happy, thank you very much Bell Sama. Bell, upon hearing Lily's words, couldn't help but feel a small smile on his face. It didn't take long for Bell to hug Lily to comfort her while stroking her hair. After a while, they broke away from the hug and Lily already had a clear answer. Lily. Bell Sama, please make me a demon. Bell. Okay, but you understand that after this there's no turning back, right? Lily. Yes, I'm totally sure. Bell. Okay, then let's begin. Bell, after finishing saying this, generated a small blade of darkness on the index finger of his left hand and directed it at the wrist of his right hand. Bell. This might be a little disgusting. Lily. What does it mean? Bell, in response, cut the veins on his right hand, causing blood to flow out. Bell. You have to drink the blood of a pure demon, so you can become one. Lily swallowed because of the nervousness she felt, she approached Bell's bleeding hand ready to drink it. Bell. Wait, it's not ready yet. Bell closed his eyes and invoked his demonic mark, while concentrating deeply, the hand which was dripping red blood, from it began to come out a single black blood with a slight purple glow, implying that it was demon blood. Bell. Okay, you can drink it now. Without a second thought, Lily approached Bell's hand and began to suck the blood from it. After a minute, Lily moved away from the hand a little, her eyes and hair began to turn black. Lily felt a burning pain throughout her body, so much so that she could only make sounds of pain. Bell. Try to relax, the pain will soon pass. Lily nodded at Bell's rabbit and tried to relax. After a few seconds, Lily's entire body had returned to normal, but what Lily couldn't see was a demonic mark smaller than Bell's on her forehead. Bell. It was quite a turn on. Lily. Really? Bell. Really, if not, see for yourself. Bell pointed to a puddle of water a few feet away, and Lily immediately understood. She went to the puddle and could see in her reflection that her eyes were now purple and that on her forehead, more exactly, above her right eye, she could see a black mark with a slight purple glow. Lily turned around to see Bell, who also had his demonic mark. Bell. Welcome to the demon clan, Lily winks at him. Bell. Well, we'd better go before people come. Lily. Okay. Bell. We'll leave through the back of the headquarters. I recommend you don't deactivate your demonic mark yet, as we'll have to get away as quickly as possible. Lily. Understood. And so, the two left through a back door of the Soma family headquarters. As soon as they left, the two began to run as fast as they could, both going through the roofs of the alleys, and since it was around 10 at night, no one would be able to see them. Lily could barely keep up with Bell, since she was still getting used to her new body, plus Bell was much faster than her. About 10 minutes passed, and Bell along with Lily arrived at the abandoned church, which Bell called home with his goddess, but for Lily, when she closely observed the supposed home of the albino, she couldn't help but put on a poker face. Lily. Bell Sama, is this where he lives? Bell. Yes, sorry, our family is poor, but not for much longer, gives a small smile. Lily. What do you mean? Bell. You'll see, for now let's go in so you can meet my goddess. Lily. Okay, let's go. They both entered the church and went down the stairs. But before continuing, Bell stopped to speak to Lily. Bell. Lily, before entering you have to deactivate your mark, my goddess knows the condition I am in, but I still have to tell her about you. Lily. Okay, but how do I do it? Bell. Just relax and imagine that the mark is no longer on your forehead, you have to do the same to summon them, only you have to think that it is on your forehead. So Lily did what Bell told her, and so her demon mark vanished from her forehead. Bell gave her a nod, saying that they could continue. As they finished going down the stairs, Bell opened the door. He could see his goddess sitting on the couch reading one of her books. The lowly goddess, upon seeing her son, immediately put down her book to receive him. Bell. I'm back, Kami-sama. Hestia. Welcome, Bell-kun. The two hugged each other, and when they finished, Hestia fixed her gaze on the brown-haired, brown-eyed hobbit behind him, somewhat confused. Hestia. Bell-kun, who is she? She says this with a bit of jealousy and a pout. Bell. Kami-sama, do you remember that I told you about my support? Well, she is. Lily. Yes, my name is Lilyruka Ard, it's a pleasure to meet you, Hestia-sama. Bose. Hestia. Likewise, support-kun, but what is she doing here at this hour, Bell-kun? Bell. Well, she's come to join the family. Hestia's eyes widened at the unexpected surprise her son had given her, and to clarify her doubts she went to the hobbit. Hestia. Is that true? Do you want to join my family? Lily. You are Hestia-sama. Hestia. But Bell-kun, hadn't you mentioned that your support belonged to the Soma family? And from what I know, Soma isn't the nice type of god. Both Lily and Bell remained silent for a few seconds, until Bell was the one who spoke. Bell. Let's say I talked to your god and persuaded him a little to let Lily join our family. Bell said everything with a smile on his face, so as not to worry Lily or Hestia. However, Hestia did not believe it at all, since there were things that were missing or did not fit, but she decided to play along. Hestia. Well then, support-kun, show me your back so you can join the family. Lily took off all the clothes on her upper body, just as Hestia ordered. Bell couldn't help but blush a little and turned around, so as not to make Lily uncomfortable. After a while, Hestia finished giving him her fauna, and when transferring her statistics to a blank sheet of paper, she was a little excited with surprise. Lilyruka Ard LV. 2. Strength. E450. Resistance. B783. Dexterity. C624. Agility. B766. Magic. 872. Total. 7,232 power points. Spells. Demonic mark. The user can summon a black mark with purple edges above the right eye. This mark makes the user have an increase in power around 10,000 points, and can also create all kinds of weapons with the power of darkness, obtain superhuman resistance and accelerated regeneration. Every time the user levels up, the demonic mark will be added another 10,000 power points. Obligatory fire, the user can use flames capable of burning everything, including people's souls. Endura, blocked. Development skills. Abnormal resistance. B. The user has superhuman physical and spell resistance or poison attacks, capable of negating almost everything. Mage. A. Enhances magical power, expands the range of effects, and makes use of the mind more efficient. Creates magic circles beneath the user that support magic. Mystery. E. Allows the user to activate a miracle and create magic items. After finishing watching this, many questions began to arise in Hestia. Then she gave the sheet with her statistics to Lily, who was also very surprised. Bell was next to her and upon seeing the sheet, he just smiled at his hobbit companion, implying that he was happy for her. Hestia. With a somewhat nervous voice. Bell-kun, these statistics are very surprising, and she also is a. Bell. Yes, Kami-sama, Lily is also a demon like me. Hestia looked at Bell and Lily with a face between surprise and confusion. Hestia. But how? Bell sighed and turned his gaze to Lily. L. Lily, you told me you were staying somewhere, right? Lily. If so, why do you mention it? L. If you have things there, I recommend you bring them, but don't let anyone see them. I need some time alone with my goddess. Lily, since Bell-sama. So Lily left the room and went for the few things she had at the inn where she was staying, leaving Bell and Hestia alone. L. Well, I'll tell you everything that happened, Kami-sama. Hestia. I'm listening to you. And so Bell began to tell his goddess everything that had happened, trying to cover up the part where he literally massacred half of the Soma family. Hestia. Wow, I had no idea you could do that, but that would be a crime before the gods, since you brought someone who is dead back to this world. L. I know, but I still don't regret what I did, because I did it for a good reason. Hestia. But it's still a bad thing, although I can understand it, so I let it go. She gives him a proud smile. L. Thank you, Kami-sama. I also wanted to ask you something very important that I was thinking about on the way here. Hestia. What is it about? Come on, tell me. L. Before telling her, looked at her fixedly with great confidence and some nervousness. L. Kami-sama, would you like to be a demon? Hestia's eyes widened at the unexpected question from her attendant. Hestia. Why are you asking me this? L. Well, you see, if you were to become a demon, you would no longer have the limitations of the other gods, since your god's blood would combine with your demons, and so you wouldn't run the risk of one day having to return to heaven, either. Since I am a demon, I will live almost as long as the gods, so I would like it if for as long as I live, you were by my side, since you were the first one who was with me from the beginning, despite my weak and small appearance. That would make me very happy. Hestia, upon hearing Bell's declaration, couldn't stop tears of happiness from coming out of her eyes, and without giving the white-haired man time to react, she threw herself on top of her son to hug him, while shouting a few words. Hestia. Yes, 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 and a million times yes. Bell with a smile on his face reciprocated Hestia's hug, and after 5 minutes of hugging they separated. Bell. How about we get started? Hestia. Yes. Bell did exactly the same thing he did with Lily to turn her into a demon, only this time it was for Hestia. The goddess slowly watched as Bell cut his wrist, and black blood with a purple glow came out of it. Bell. Kami-sama, you have to drink it. Hestia swallowed hard, then approached Bell's hand and began to drink his blood. While she drank, Bell put his free hand on her chest and began to infect it with his darkness to make the process more effective. After 5 minutes, Hestia separated from Bell's hand and began to weigh by the same procedure as Lily, only this time, the arcanum of the young goddess began to shine in multiple colors, but in a few moments those colors transformed into a purple that flashed intensely. The goddess held her chest tightly, as if her heart was about to jump out. When it was all over, Hestia fainted to the ground, but was just caught in Bell's arms, who had a big smile of joy. After 10 minutes, Hestia finally woke up. Hestia. Bell-kun, it worked. Bell. Yes, Kami-sama, good job. Bell helped Hestia stand up and pointed his finger at the mirror that was half a meter away from them. Bell. See it for yourself. Hestia approached the mirror, and seeing herself reflected in it, she could see the demonic mark. It was bigger than Lily's, but not bigger than Bell's. Hestia. Thank you, Bell-kun, now we can be together forever. Bell. Yes, although I have to tell you something. Hestia. Tell me. Bell. As I said before, now that you are a demon, you are not bound to the conditions of your arcanum, since you are no longer a pure goddess, therefore you are completely free, but you can continue updating the status of the family members without problem, and give your fauna. Hestia. That means I won't have to go to the meetings of the gods anymore. L. Well, for now I think we should keep going, so we don't raise suspicions. Hestia. Okay, that seems most reasonable to me. L. There is also one last thing. Hestia. And what is it? L. Assuming that your divine blood will fuse 100% with the demonic blood, you would be stronger than a normal person, so you could defend yourself in case I'm not around and something is happening. Hestia. Okay, but how strong would it be? L. I estimate that in his normal form, he would have a power score around 1000 points, stronger than a normal person, but no more than a level 1 adventurer in the middle of the path. But if he uses his demonic mark, his power would increase to 11,000 points. He would have the same power as a level 3 adventurer at the end of the path, and since he can use darkness, he will be able to summon all kinds of weapons with it, so he won't need one. Hestia. Wow, I never thought I'd be this strong. But Bell-kun, remember that I still don't know how to handle this power, nor my new body. It would be better if I had a weapon for anything that happens in the future, but we won't be able to since we're poor. Hestia gets a little sad when she says this last thing. Bell. I wouldn't be so sure about that last one. Hestia. Bell. You'll see, when Lily returns, I'll give you both a surprise. What Bell didn't know was that Lily had already returned and was walking down the stairs. Hestia and Bell noticed the creaking noise of the stairs and immediately deduced who it was. Lily reached the end and opened the door. She had on her back the support backpack she used in the dungeon. Lily. I'm back. Hestia and Bell. Welcome. Bell, you're just in time, Lily. Lily. Why? Bell. Wait a bit and you won't see, I have to go look for him. Bell, after finishing saying this, left the room in search of something. Lily, meanwhile, left her backpack near the sofa and began to talk to Hestia. Lily. Hestia-sama, who did Bell-sama go to look for? Hestia. I have no idea, hey support kun. Lily. What's up? Hestia. You may be family now, but I want to make it clear that Bell-kun is mine. She says this with an imposing look and tone. Lily became defensive at this, since she wasn't going to let anyone have Bell. Of course, they started fighting over who loves Bell more. The two of them were like that for about 3 minutes until Bell returned. Bell. Okay, I'm back. Did something happen during my short absence? Lily and Hestia. No. Nothing special. Bell. Okay. Here's a surprise for you. Hestia. What did you bring? Bell. This. Bell turned around and grabbed 3 huge sacks that were behind him and put them on top of the table. At first glance the sacks seemed heavy, so they had a lot of stuffing inside. Hestia and Lily were surprised to see the size of the sacks and were also a little confused. Lily. Bell-sama, what is this? Bell. Look inside. The two girls just looked at each other and raised their shoulders, showing how confused they were. Then they did what the albino said, and between the two of them they opened one of the bags and their mouths were wide open. Hestia, BB Bell Cunny this is. Bell. Yes, they are Valis, the 3 bags are full of money. Hearing this, the two were surprised and looked at the white-haired man at the same time with excitement and some doubt. Lily. But how did he get so much money? Hestia. Answer us. Bell. Okay, calm down, as you both know, before the matter with the Soma family happened, Lily and I were gathering money so she would leave that family. When Lily left after finishing work in the dungeon, I always went back in to gather more money, and in the end, we collected a sum of 8 million Valis. Hestia and Lily rushed to hug Bell after he said all that. Hestia. Bell-kun, you are the best. Lily. You are amazing, Bell-sama. Bell couldn't help but put on a clumsy smile, as after the praise for the young rabbit, Bell began to speak to them. Bell. It's actually a lot of money and I earned it with Lily in just a week. Now imagine, since Lily's now a demon like me, we'll be able to get even more when we go to the dungeon. Hestia. And then we wouldn't have to worry about money anymore. Bell. Indeed. The first thing will be to find a new place to live. I'll take care of that so you can relax. Lily. It's okay. Hestia. Okay, Bell-kun. Bell. What if they sleep? It's too late. Hestia. But where will support kun sleep? There's only my bed and the sofa where you sleep. Bell. No problem, Lily can sleep on the couch today. After all, we'll have our new house tomorrow. He smiles at them while winking. Lily. But where will you sleep, Bell-sama? Bell. Don't worry about that, I have to go check some things, just sleep peacefully. The two girls didn't quite understand what he meant by things, so they just listened to Bell and got ready to go to sleep. Well, the white-haired boy just left the room and exited the church. Once outside he walked a little. After 10 minutes, he stood up and leaned his back against one of the nearby pillars. Bell had his eyes closed. He suddenly started talking. Bell. Why don't you show yourself at once? When Bell said those words, everything around him went black and all that was visible was the infinite nothingness. It wasn't long before a presence appeared. Wow, so you noticed me, you surprised me. The person came out of the infinite darkness. The person in question was very identical to Bell, but what differentiated them was that this second Bell had his entire body black and with threads of darkness from head to toe. His eyes were injected in black and had a purple pupil in the middle of all that black. Bell. What are you supposed to be? Bell 2. I am you, but your demon part. Bell. My part demon, hey? And why are you here? Bell 2. For some reason when you revived and turned Lily into a demon I woke up. I guess it's because my blood combined with another individual's. Bell. And what do you want? Bell 2. I don't want anything, like I said I'm you too, so I'm not going to do anything that involves hurting you, since I would be hurting myself too. Bell. Okay, I'll believe you. By the way, can no one else see you? Bell 2. Only you and a limited group of people can't see me. Bell. Like which ones? Bell 2. Beings of your own species, demons, but they have to be high-ranking demons, like our goddess. Bell. I see, as long as you don't give me any trouble, that's enough for me. Bell 2. On the contrary, I'm here to help you in any way I can, but I need to tell you that sometimes I might get outside. Bell. And Kules would be those sometimes. Bell 2. I can only come out when you lose control of your darkness and fall into madness, that's where I take control, so I advise you to be careful with that, since there's no telling what I can do. Bell. Okay, got the message, now excuse me, I have to go find a new place for my goddess, Lily and I to live. Bell 2. Good luck. The dark bell vanished along with the darkness around it. No sooner did Bell see this, he went straight to his main goal, which was to find a new home. After a while of searching, Bell was able to find a place that handled construction and home sales. Upon finishing all the paperwork, the white-haired demon left the premises with a smile of victory. Walking through the almost deserted streets of Verario, Bell unexpectedly stopped in his tracks and became a little defensive. He had felt an emotion, similar to if someone was calling him, a feeling similar to if he had to find someone. He looked in all directions but saw nothing, until in his field of vision, a boy more or less his age appeared. He had short spiky red hair, light blue eyes, he was wearing a navy blue t-shirt with a black kimono tied with a belt, a blue scarf, tan pants and long brown boots. Bell thought. But what? Why does that boy emit a strange energy? Suddenly a voice arose inside his mind. Bell 2. Wow. I didn't think there was one in this world. Bell. Ah, it's you again, another me. Do you know anything about that guy? And why does he give off a strange aura? Bell 2. I don't know anything about him, but I know what you're feeling. Bell. And what is it? Bell 2. What you feel is called potential. Bell. Potential. Bell 2. Look, I'll explain. In Meliodas' world, very high-ranking demons could sense in other demons the potential they had to be among the elite of demons, that is, to be part of the 10 Commandments, that's how the Demon King selected the best warriors. In short, that guy has the potential to be a demon, and a strong one at that. Bell. I understand, and what should I do? Bell 2. If I were you, I'd approach him and offer to become a demon. That way, you'll have another strong companion, and he'll be a new member of the Hestia Familia. Bell. Okay, I'll try. But how is it that you know all this and I don't? Bell 2. Sigh. When Meliodas gave you his powers and memories, he gave you most of them, but not exactly everything. Take it this way, I am your demonic part that knows everything about our race. Bell. I see, well, thanks for the information, another me. Bell 2. You're welcome, see you. And so the dark Bell's voice dispersed into nothingness. Bell decided to do what his other self advised. He approached the person in question and began to chat with him. The man was leaning against a wall with his arms crossed, with a somewhat bitter expression, apparently he was angry. Bell. Hey, why the long face? Hearing a voice, the man tilted his head to find himself standing face to face with a boy with white hair and fiery eyes. He didn't say anything for a few seconds, not expecting someone to just walk up to him and talk. My things. Bell. My name is Bell Cranel, what is your name? Bell uttered those words as he extended his hand in an introductory manner. The red-haired man hesitated a bit but ultimately decided to introduce himself, taking Bell's hand in a handshake. Welf. Welf Krazo, it's a pleasure. If I recall correctly, you're the famous Dark Rabbit, right? The one who holds the record for the fastest leveling. Bell. Likewise Welf-san, and yes, that's me, but leaving that topic aside, because you seem down. Welf. Things in my life. Bell. Like what things? Welf. You're weird, you just met me and you talk to me like nothing happened. Bell. I'm just trying to be friendly. Welf. Well, I am a blacksmith and I belong to the Hephaestus family. Bell. What about that? Welf. You see, I have a talent that consists of making very powerful magic swords. Bell. Really? Welf. What? Don't you know about the Krazo family? Bell felt very ignorant, so all he could do was shrug his shoulders and shake his head in a comical way. Welf seemed a little surprised, since practically everyone in Aurario knew the last name of his failed family, so to speak, so he decided to tell him who the Krazos were. Welf explained to our white-haired man that the Krazo family was a very famous blacksmith family, since they were known for making very high-quality magic items, but one day all the Krazos simply lost that talent and were left in ruin. Bell. I see, but why are you angry about being able to make strong magic items? Welf. Honestly, I hate doing them. Bell. And what is the reason for that? Welf. As you know, magic items have a limit of use and then they simply turn to ashes, and that is what bothers me, since it is assumed that for an adventurer his most faithful companion and the one who will always be with him will be his weapon. If it is useless and only turns to ashes, he would be alone. So I have tried to create an object that surpasses the magic ones, but all my attempts only come to failure. Bell. Wow, you have a very great determination, Welf-san. Welf. Thank you. But the truth is that it's not just because of that I'm angry, I'm also angry because all the members of my family, along with Hestia, tell me every chance they get that I despise my talent and that I should be making magic items. And that's getting me sick, no matter how much my goddess admits. Bell thought for a few moments, but then decided to ask him at once. Bell. Hey Welf-san, what do you think of a proposal? Welf. A proposal? And what kind? Bell. We'd better go somewhere else, I don't want to risk someone hearing us. Welf. Are you okay? Bell. Follow me. Welf listened to Bell's request and followed him to a nearby alley, it was almost dark and perfect for no one to hear them. Bell. I'll get straight to the point, wouldn't you like to be stronger? And not just in power, but as a blacksmith? Welf. Hey. What are you trying to do? Bell. Please answer me first. Welf. Well, of course I would like to be stronger. Bell. Well, you see, the truth is I'm not human. Welf. How? Bell. Just as you heard, I'm not human, I'm a demon. As Bell said the last thing, he activated his demonic mark and the right side of his face began to fill with dark marks. This alarmed Welf, causing him to take 2 steps back while sweating a little. Bell. Don't worry, I'm not going to hurt you. Welf. What do you want from me? Bell. To be honest, I've seen potential in you, you would make a very talented demon, so I propose this. Become a demon and join my family, it's a good offer, right? You'll gain more power both as an adventurer and as a blacksmith, and you'll be in a family that wouldn't bother you or pressure you, you'll be free to do the work you love. Welf couldn't believe it, for 2 minutes that seemed endless to him, he remained doubtful, but at the same time interested. Welf. What's the trick here? Bell. There's no trick, I'm being honest, you get what you want and I get a new partner and family member, we both win. The red-haired boy stared at Bell and could tell he was lying, no matter how scary the albino seemed, he knew he wasn't lying, so he tried to see the positive side of things and gave his answer. Welf. Okay, what do I have to do? Bell made an uncomfortable face combined with a you won't like it face that made Welf a little nervous. Bell did the same thing step by step as he did with Lily and her goddess. When everything was over, Bell explained how his demonic power and his mark worked. Welf. Okay, I understand everything, but I think I should go to my family's headquarters to talk to Hestia so I can leave the family. Bell. No need. Welf. Why? Bell. The moment you became a demon, you stopped being part of the Hephaestus family, since your goddess gave her Falna to a human, not a demon, therefore you no longer have her blessing. Welf understood quickly and just said okay, the two began their walk towards the abandoned church, while Bell told her about trivial things in his life, like what he did before coming to Aurario, how he got his powers, about his goddess and Lily, etc. The next day Lily and Hestia were waking up, and when they opened their eyes they saw that Bell was sitting in a chair that was nearby, they said good morning to him, and Bell did the same. After the two got ready, the albino told them to follow him, Hestia and Lily did and went to the entrance of the church, and they could see Welf who was standing next to the door. Lily. Bell-sama, who is it? Bell. His name is Welf Krazo, and he is another member of the family. Hestia. Another one. Lily. Wait, did you say Krazo? Bell. Don't worry, Welf told me all about his family. Welf. Yes, it's a pleasure to meet you goddess Hestia and you too Lilyruka, Bell told me about you. Hestia. And tell me Welf-kun, why do you want to join my family? At the question of the goddess Loli, Welf along with Bell looked at each other and Bell explained to them how he met Welf and that he had turned him into a demon. When the explanation ended, the two girls seemed to understand everything. Hestia. Okay, I understand. Well, Welf-kun, take off all your tops to join the family. Welf took off his kimono and shirt and Hestia proceeded to give him her Falna. At the end of the process, Hestia transferred all of Welf's stats to a blank sheet of paper and both Lily and Bell approached to see it. The sheet had the following written on it. Welf Krazo LV.2. Strength. B734. Resistance. C622. Dexterity. A859. Agility. B771. Magic, F360. Total. 6,822 power points. Spells. Demonic Mark. The user can summon a black mark with purple edges above the right eye. This mark makes the user have an increase in power around 10,000 points and can also create all kinds of weapons with the power of darkness, obtain superhuman resistance and accelerated regeneration. Every time the user levels up, the demonic mark will be added another 10,000 power points. Trick Star. The user can swap the position of two objects of the same size, this can also apply to the user in question. Development skills. Spiritual healing. C. Automatic mind regeneration. Begins to regenerate the mind at a low rate after using magic. Strong body. C. The body is enhanced to the point that all stats increase, thus granting more power. Blacksmith. A. When forging objects or weapons, you make them of higher quality and much more durable quality. If you forge a magical object or weapon, they will have much greater power and their usage limit will be extended. Hestia was hardly surprised, knowing that being a demon like Bell and Lily meant that her attributes and skills had to be high. Her 3 family members, on the other hand, were intrigued by Welf's stats sheet. The 2 congratulated him, and then Bell told everyone to follow him, that he had a surprise for them. They all followed Bell for approximately 25 minutes. Every time they asked him where they were going, the white-haired boy would say, "You'll see," with a smile. When it seemed that the walk was about to come to an end, everyone except Bell realized that the area they were in was the area where the Loki family mansion was located. So everyone was confused until Bell stopped right in front of the entrance of a huge mansion that at first glance was extremely luxurious. Everyone was amazed by the mansion, but they also wondered why Bell had led him here. Lily. Bell-sama, why did you bring us here? Bell. Isn't it obvious, it's our new home. Everyone present, except Bell, stared blankly at the sound of their mouths dropping to the floor. They were paralyzed by what their ears had heard. It wasn't until a few seconds later that someone spoke. Lily. With voice and trembling body. BB Bell-sama, how is this place our new home? Bell. Did you forget? I bought it with the money we had. Hestia addressed Bell with a somewhat annoyed tone and as if she was about to explode. Hestia. Bell-kun. I admit it was a lot of money, but we couldn't have dreamed of buying this. So I'll ask you straight up. How did you get this mansion? Bell made a nervous face and a comical drop of sweat slid down her face. Bell. Well, you see. Flashback. We can see everyone's favorite albino waiting at the store that handles home sales. After a while, he was served by what appeared to be the store manager. Man. Good evening, young man, how can I help you? Bell. Good evening, I came here to buy a mansion. Man. Okay, are there any requirements you want for your mansion? Bell. If there are 2, let it be the best one they have and that is close to the Twilight Mansion. Bell thought. I want to be as close to Asen as possible. The employee's eyes widened at the 2 requests Bell had given him. Man. Well, that's a little difficult, but there is one with the requirements you want. How much money do you have in your possession? Bell took the 3 huge bags that contained the money he had raised. Bell. By now I have 7,500,000 valis. Man. It's not enough. Bell. Man. The mansion you are asking for costs 150 million valis. Bell, upon hearing the exaggeratedly high price, turned pale as he broke out in a cold sweat. Man. If you can't pay the full price, then you couldn't sell it. Those words began to bother Bell a little. Bell thought. I guess I can be greedy once in a while, right? As he thought this, a suffocating pressure could be felt in the room, followed by an enormous killing intent. This made the manager of the place shudder with fear, and when he realized where it came from, his blood froze. Bell was looking at him with sharp eyes, and behind him a dark car was escaping. It was then that Bell spoke with a voice that would intimidate even Finn the Brave. Bell. Hey, I think we can come to an agreement, right? What if I pay you in installments? What do you think? The manager was scared to death, so he had no choice but to accept. Man. Okay, you can pay in installments. He says this with great difficulty. Upon hearing what he wanted, Bell returned to his usual self and simply thanked him, and the manager gave him the address and keys to his new home before leaving the premises. End of flashback. Back in reality, Hestia had a prominent vein on her forehead from the anger Bell had provoked in her. Hestia. In a very angry tone. Bell-kun, you better start praying. Bell. Well, you know the saying. Pause, what do I want them for? Hestia. Come back, Harry. Bell. Ai. And so the busty goddess went out chasing the white-haired man who was surely going to be dead after the bucking he was going to suffer. Change of scenery. At the Tower of Babel, there was a goddess of beauty, with silver hair and violet eyes, dressed in a revealing but elegant black dress. She was sitting in a chair while holding a glass of wine, while watching the comical scene of the white-haired man with his goddess. Freya. Otter. Otter. Yes, Freya-sama. Freya. I want to see what he can do, you know what to do. Otter, understood Freya-sama. Freya. But take a Rada too, we don't know what he might weigh. XD happy birthday Surfy, I hope you're having a great time V. Otter. As you wish. Behind the beautiful goddess, there were 2 figures, one was imposing and enormous, this was Otter, the only level 7 adventurer in Arario, and next to him was another figure with a normal build around 1.70, wearing black clothes along with a black mouth cover, he had light silver hair and dark red eyes. Chapter 8. Special Edition. Chapter 8. Who is the strongest? In Arario it was a beautiful day, the birds were singing, the flowers were blooming, everything seemed perfect, but one person didn't think the same, to be more specific Bell didn't think so. Now we focus on the new and immense mansion of the Hestia family, where there was a Bell Cranel with many bruises on his face, implying that he received a beating, and the author of such beating was Hestia herself. After Bell revealed to Hestia, Lily and Welf his new home and tell them how he got it, their goddess couldn't help but burst into a very great anger, so she decided to teach her follower a lesson. Bell was kneeling right in front of the main door of the mansion, while he was scolding and receiving a sermon from Hestia. On the other hand, the new members of the family watched this with grace and a small smile on their faces. Welf. Hey little Lily, are those two always like this? Lily. I really don't know, I just joined the family yesterday too, but they seem really fun. Welf. You're right haha. But Bell and Hestia. Hestia. Did you understand me? Or do you want me to repeat it? Bell already had a tired and overwhelmed face from his goddess's immense sermon, for not saying testament, so in order not to make this any longer, he could only choose one answer. Bell. Yes, Kami-sama, I understand. I promise not to do something like that again. He lowers his head in repentance. Hestia. You better, well since we have our new home, why don't we go in and see what it looks like? All. Yes. With her children's approval, the demon goddess pushed open the large door leading into the Hestia family's new home. Everyone present was fascinated by the interior of the mansion. There were golden chandeliers hanging from the ceiling, several pictures with paintings that looked old on the walls. You could see a wide staircase with a red silk carpet, the walls were off-white, the floor had a black and white checkerboard design. It also had several pieces of furniture that apparently were made of oak wood and many doors that led to other rooms. Everyone did not hesitate twice to enter and see in more detail the immense entrance of their new home. Bell. Wow, that is huge. Hestia. Yes, and that's just the entrance. Bell. How about we split up to explore the mansion? All. Okay. They all went their separate ways to get to know the place better. Lily walked for a while and checked several rooms, in one of them she found a large library with objects and furniture that seemed very expensive. On the other hand, Welf walked for no more than 10 minutes, checking every room he came across. Some were common rooms for sleeping, others were either used as storage or to store cooking utensils, gardening and such things, but he liked one of them a lot, since it was a blacksmith's forge along with all the necessary tools. Bell arrived at the garden which was very large, with different types of plants and flowers. He also found a small area that would perfectly serve as a training arena for when he or the other members needed it. Finally Hestia checked like the others more rooms and places. The last three were the kitchen that is very elegant things as they are, the dining room which had a long table with a white tablecloth, and the last was some hot springs that were in a part outside the mansion in the garden. After everyone met again and talked a little about the rooms that each could see, they began to arrange their things in their respective rooms. Bell went to his and left his clothes, armor, some books he had, and after a while he left it to meet Hestia and Lily, who had each settled in exactly one of the other rooms that were next to Bell's. While they looked at each other with challenging eyes, Bell only gave a somewhat uncomfortable smile, and then turned to his goddess and spoke to her. Bell. Kami-sama, what do you think if we go shopping? Hestia. Shopping. And what are we going to buy? Bell. I was thinking of buying things for the mansion and buying you some new clothes. Hestia. Okay, but with what money? You supposedly used all the money we had to pay for our mansion. Bell. Don't worry, I saved some money so sit tight. Hestia. Okay, let's go. Bell and Hestia before leaving told Welf and Lily to go shopping, taking an okay from both of them. The two walked for a while checking stores of all kinds. It had been more than 2 hours, and Bell carried in his hands many bags full of things, such as groceries for cooking, healing potions that they bought from the Maich family, kitchen utensils among other things. Bell continued walking next to the little goddess who looked happy for a while, until she stopped and noticed a clothing store that in one of its windows displayed some beautiful dresses and clothes for women. Bell, Kami-sama, Meyer. Hestia stopped and looked at Bell who was pointing at the clothing store with his finger, making her look at it too. Bell. Let's look at some clothes for you, gives him a small smile. Hestia just smiled back and they entered the store. Once inside, Hestia continued to put on various clothes. Of all the ones she tried on, the ones she liked the most, both she and Bell who was so to speak giving his opinion, were a swimsuit, more precisely a blue bikini with white stripes. The second was a light blue festival or New Year kimono with a floral design and pink embellishments. And finally, it was a new main outfit for Hestia. This one was almost the same as the previous one. The difference is that this one was black with long black and transparent stockings. The gloves, the bow tie and the ribbon that crossed under Hestia's breasts were golden, as were the hair coal that held her pigtails. Already decided, they went to pay everything at the counter and returned to their new home with Lily and Welf. It was still noon, so they took advantage of everything they could to do various kinds of things, and you will be wondering what kind of things, right? Do not worry, later you will know. The hours passed and the night fell in Aurario. The Hestia family, after eating dinner made by Bell, went to their respective rooms and fell deeply asleep. Another morning shone in Aurario as well as the new Hestia family. Bell was the first to get up, went down the stairs to the kitchen to prepare breakfast, being already finished. Everyone else got up and went down to have breakfast while talking about trivial things. After finishing breakfast a while passed, and Bell went to the training yard to warm up a little before going to the dungeon. Meanwhile Welf was in his workshop and Lily taking a bath. Hestia had to go see the lady of the potato stand where she used to work to inform her that she would no longer work there and thank her for everything. Before leaving, Bell warned her for anything. The albino only said, "It's okay," along with a "take care." The little goddess left the mansion in the direction of her objective, walked for about 15 minutes along the main street until reaching the potato stand. Being there, Hestia thanked the owner for everything and asked her if she needed something in the future that will not hesitate to ask her, which she would gladly do. They talked for a few minutes before Hestia returned to the mansion. Everything was normal on the way back. From time to time she stopped to see some stores and continued on her way. There were only a few blocks left to go until something unexpected happened. Behind her a male voice called her. "Goddess Hestia." Hestia looked back and was very surprised to know who was calling her. In front of her was an imposing figure. He was over 2 meters tall. Both his eyes and hair were rust-colored, and his skin was a brown color. It was the renowned man Otter, the only adventurer to reach level 7. Hestia looked at him for a few seconds with some confusion, but mostly curiosity, then she answered. "Hestia. What do you wish for, son of Freya?" "Otter. I need you to come with me. Freya Sama requests a meeting with you." Hestia thought. Freya. And now she's plotting, something's not right. Hestia. "Sure, where do I see it?" "Otter, Sigum." Otter, without showing any kind of emotion or expression, turned around and started walking. Hestia just followed him. They walked no more than 10 minutes until they reached an establishment. The two entered, and Otter guided Hestia to a balcony, where there was a small table and 2 chairs. In one of the chairs was a thin figure. Her body was covered with a long robe, and her head was covered by a hood. The figure, when he heard that someone entered the room, raised his head and looked directly at Hestia. Under the hood a feminine face was shown, ash gray hair and beautiful purple eyes that would captivate anyone. This presence was Freya, the goddess of beauty. Freya just looked at Hestia for a moment and gave a smile and then spoke to her. "Freya. I was waiting for Hestia, please take a seat." But those words finished, the goddess pointed with one of her hands at an empty chair in front of her. Hestia simply walked over to the table and sat down quietly. "Freya. Before we start, do you want something to drink?" Hestia. "No thanks, I'm fine." Freya. "Very well. I'm sure you're wondering why her name is, but I actually wanted to talk to you about a few things." Freya couldn't continue speaking because Hestia interrupted. Hestia. "Freya, I don't want to beat around the bush. I know you're up to something, so just spill the beans." Freya opened her eyes slightly in surprise. She didn't believe that Hestia would say such words, but she really didn't care much. She just gave a smile and spoke again. Freya. Ara, I didn't think you were so direct." Hestia. "Well, if that's what you want, why not?" Hestia settled into her chair, crossing one leg over the other and crossing her arms as well. Freya. "The truth is, I've been observing something that caught my attention, but more than something, it's someone. That person has the purest, whitest soul I've ever seen in my immortal life." Hestia. "You're talking about my Bell Cranel, aren't you?" Hestia, when saying her words, could be noticed a slight tone of annoyance. Apparently she was trying to be as Cortez as possible, but really she knew exactly where this conversation was going, and that filled her with anger. Freya. "Right on target. She really is a very peculiar creature, and that's why." Hestia. "And that's why you want him. I already knew it, since I know how you are. You see a child from the underworld that you like and you want him for yourself. It doesn't matter if he belongs to another family. Let me tell you something, Freya, my Bell, he's not for sale. I wouldn't change him for anything in the world." Freya. "Oh come on Hestia, I could give you all the love a goddess can give and even more." Licks her lips. Everyone would think at this moment that Hestia would be angrier because of what Freya said, right? Well, let me tell you that you are wrong, because Hestia only gave a small smile and said the following words. Hestia. Ha. Typical of a goddess of your type. Otter, who was only 2 steps away from his goddess, heard Hestia's words, as did Freya, and turned his gaze to the small goddess. Freya, on the other hand, only tilted her head slightly and continued speaking. Freya. What are you trying to say with that? Hestia. Oh come on, don't play dumb, we all know very well that you are one of the most slutty goddesses out there. On Freya's face she didn't seem to care much about that comment, but it really irritated her a little inside. She almost frowned but realized just in time. But Otter wasn't as calm as his goddess, because when he finished hearing that comment, the hand of the imposing boar man turned into a fist, which he squeezed tightly because of the anger he felt. The two goddesses present noticed, but neither of them cared. Hestia. Maybe I don't know you as well as other gods, but what I can be sure of is that you can win over anyone with your charms. Bad luck for you, because those tricks won't work for you in Bell. Freya seemed very interested in what Hestia said last. The smile she had on her face before had disappeared, to be replaced with a frown from the goddess. Freya. What's your point? Hestia. My point is. Neither your money nor your boar tricks are going to help you get my Bell Cranel. He's only mine, and I won't let anyone have him. The inhabitant in the room became very tense when Hestia made her wishes very clear. A few seconds that seemed endless passed. Both she and Freya and Otter did not say or do anything. They just stood like statues in their places. It seemed that Freya was going to break the ice. First she turned her eyes without tilting her head towards her dependent for a second, and then returned her gaze to Hestia, and with a smile, said the following words. Freya. It's a shame, I wish this wouldn't have gotten any worse. But you don't give me any choice. The last words were said with a somewhat terrifying voice. Hestia did not understand at that moment what it meant, but her question was answered in less than 10 seconds. Otter quickly approached the seat where Hestia was sitting, and then raised his arm with his fist closed and directed it towards the little goddess. Hestia found it difficult to react, but she was able to do it in time. With the fastest speed she could, she activated her demonic mark, and without both Freya and Otter noticing, she quickly stood up from her seat and did a backflip jump. Otter, thinking that it would hit Hestia without any problem really if it hit something, but not Hestia. It had destroyed the chair where Hestia was sitting into many pieces. When the chair was destroyed, it left a lot of dust around it, making it a little difficult to see. Freya, like Otter, thought that her work was already finished, and at this the goddess of beauty made a big smile between teeth. Freya. Good job Otter, now let's go Po. The beautiful goddess was interrupted by a voice coming from the dust scattered in the room. Hestia. Hey, are you leaving without saying goodbye? The great level 7 adventurer and the grey-haired goddess upon hearing the voice, looked in the direction it came from. Both were surprised when the dust dispersed, and they could see Hestia standing a few steps behind without a scratch. Hestia just stood where she was with a small smile. Freya stood up from her seat a little nervous, and removed her hood. Freya. How? Hestia. Do you really want to know? Let's just say my Bell Cranel taught me some tricks. Flashback. We can see all the members of the Hestia family, along with their goddess, lined up in the training courtyard, facing forward. In front of them stood Bell, his hands clasped behind his back, his expression serious yet calm. Bell. Okay, I know that we just arrived at our new home today, but from this day on we are going to start training your demon powers so that you can master them completely, understood? All? Yes. And so they spent a very good time training their bodies, demon abilities and their darkness together with Bell who gave them the necessary instructions. Everyone followed to the letter every step that the white-haired man gave them. More than 2 hours had already passed, but in that short period of time both Hestia, Lily and Welf were able to learn the most basic things. After that you already know what happened. End of flashback. Back in the present, Freya had a slight anger on her face, while Otter just stood in front of her. Freya. Ara, you are more interesting than I imagined Hestia, but this time you won't be able to dodge it. In less than 2 seconds of finishing the last word, Otter attacked again, but this time he did it at such a speed that Hestia did not have time to react this time. Otter raised his arm again, and with his fist tightly clenched, launched a direct blow to the head. There were a few centimeters left for the impact, but before it arrived the adventurer's large arm was stopped by a hand. Otter opened his eyes slightly as this took him by surprise, as did Freya and Hestia. The person who was still holding the arm was coming out from the shadow that was behind Hestia. It was showing itself little by little, until the first thing that could be distinguished from the individual was his snow-white hair, and then his blood-colored eyes. This individual was Bell, who at that moment was angry. No, angry was a word that fell short of what he felt. He was furious. And with all that anger he felt he said the following. Bell. No one touches my goddess. Without holding back even a little, at the end of his words, the albino moved Otter's arm out of his field of vision at a higher speed and jumped to then kick towards the imposing man. Otter observed this but did not care. He did not even try to cover himself from the blow, but Bell noticed this, and before the kick arrived, he activated his demonic mark, increasing the power of the kick even more. The boar man was able to realize this in time and put his 2 arms in an X shape to cover himself, but still received the damage and was sent flying out of the balcony into the street outside, hitting the wall and going through it. All the people around the scene approached the hole to see what happened, but absolutely everyone was shocked to see the great King Otter lying on the ground and with some small scratches. It did not take him anything to get up from the rubble and then look from the street into Bell's eyes in an imposing and defiant way. Back with Bell and Hestia. Bell stood where he had thrown Otter into the street and watched as he stood up and looked at him. Bell only returned his look with another one from him, only this one had both fury and determination. Beside him was Hestia, who was very surprised but also happy to see her beloved white-haired boy. Hestia. Bell-kun. What are you doing here? Bell. Oh, sorry Kami-sama, it's just that when she left the mansion I had a bad feeling, so I followed her. Hestia. It's okay, no problem. Bell. Goddess, you can give me the details later, for now stay close to me. The demon lowly nodded her head in response, and as she did so, Bell picked her up like a princess in his arms and jumped down into the street. Once on the street, he lowered Hestia and stood in front of her to protect her. Otter stood a few feet in front of the two of them saying nothing, looking like he wouldn't, so Bell decided to speak. Bell. Ray Otter. Otter. Dark Rabbit. Bell. Why are you and Freya-sama attacking my goddess? Otter. I won't answer that, I only fulfill Freya-sama's wishes, so I'll only say this once. Stand aside. Despite Otter saying the latter in a very threatening and terrifying way, Bell was not fazed, all he did was laugh. All the people around were hiding either in one of the alleys that were nearby or in a house, but they all saw the scene, and only one thing went through their heads at the act that the young albino had done. This boy is crazy, they were right in something. Bell at this moment was crazy, but not a normal crazy way, he was crazy with anger. If I give you my most sincere opinion, I would not want to be in Otter's shoes right now, I assured them. Bell. Bad luck for you, great King Otter, because if someone messes with someone I love, I can assure you that that person is going to lose, especially if it's my goddess. Bell's demonic mark was activated, it expanded across the entire right side of his face. He unsheathed his sword Hestia with a skill that would surpass that of the best swordsman in the world and got into a combat pose, while Otter only took out a large black sword that he had attached to a chain on his back, along with a large hammer and axe. Bell was waiting for Otter to make the first attack, but nothing happened, he just stood still in his place. The white-haired man was staring at his opponent without taking his eyes off him. Since Otter did not attack, Bell was the first to do so. He quickly approached Otter, making him believe that he would attack from the front, but that was not the case. Because Bell pretended that he was going to give a vertical slash, and long before he arrived, he used all the speed he could to get behind him and slash him with his sword, but what Bell did not see coming was that Otter was able to notice this and stopped his attack with his sword, causing both weapons to collide with each other, and in doing so, Bell jumped a couple of meters back to lengthen the distance between them, already being away from the Indian for a few moments in his thoughts. Nara Bell. Even though I did it with almost all my speed he was able to stop my attack, but what worries me the most is my goddess. She can defend herself a bit, but there is the possibility that more members of the Freya Familia are nearby, and I am not sure if I can handle more than two. Neither he nor his goddess will let us escape easily, so I have to take down Otter as quickly as possible. When Bell finished organizing his ideas, he put himself back into combat pose, and with his darkness, he wrapped his entire right arm and then turned it into a sword of darkness more or less the same size as his Hestia sword. Already having his two weapons ready, he lunged at Otter again, and the two collided their weapons, causing sparks to fly from the impact. Bell continuously gave attacks with the swords, but Otter blocked them all without problem. Until one of the attacks managed to cut a little one of his cheeks, Otter began to take this more and more seriously. Now every time Bell gave a blow he counterattacked with a stronger one. Bell dodged them, but some managed to hit him, not enough to be a fatal blow, but he did receive a lot of damage, so the demonic rabbit tried to mislead his opponent to have a chance to knock him out. Bell transformed his now sword of darkness into a fist of darkness. And with this he hit the ground where he was with a force overwhelming, resulting in it being destroyed into many pieces. Both the hidden spectators, Hestia and Freya, were somewhat confused by Bell's action. Otter was too, but more than that, he was focused on Bell's every move. He knew he was going to try something, so he increased his defense and took out his great battle axe. The next thing Bell did was, the ground he had destroyed left a lot of good-sized debris. With his maximum speed he took each and every one of them and lassoed them very tightly towards Otter. All the projectiles were launched almost at the same time, and there were more than 15. Otter did not hesitate for a second, and with his two weapons he destroyed them all. When he finished with the debris, his vision was a little hindered by the dust they had left. But when the dust dispersed, Bell was no longer in sight. Otter looked in several directions to find him, but he could not. Do you want to know where Bell is? The answer is simple. Our dear white hare was in the sky, far above his opponent, and how did he get there? Basically, when Bell lassoed the debris to his rival, he took advantage of the few seconds of distraction to generate two wings of darkness and rise into the sky. Bell could perfectly observe Otter from his new position, and since he had the opportunity to take him by surprise, he did not hesitate at all to take that opportunity. He kept his sword in its sheath that he carried on his back, and in his two arms, he created the largest matter of darkness to be able to form two fists much larger than the previous one he had created. Then he used his wings to dive down, and at an exaggeratedly high speed, he headed to his target. Otter was still trying to locate Bell. For a few seconds he closed his eyes to use his senses to find out where the albino was. Bell was a few meters away from reaching Otter and hitting him with his two fists of darkness, but Otter realized this and looked up at the sky, but it was too late. Before Otter could do anything, Bell embedded a huge blow that he had given him all over his body, causing everything around 30 meters away to begin to temper from the impact. When everything calmed down a bit, you could see Bell still with his two fists of darkness, but these were embedded in the ground forming a large crater. The white-haired man disappeared his big hands, and when he did, you could see an Otter lying on the ground face up with many wounds and bruises, but he was still conscious. I'm sorry, but I won't let anything or anyone hurt the people I love. At the end of the words that were directed towards his almost defeated opponent, Bell formed black flames on his left arm to give the final blow to Otter to knock him out. Bell raised his arm to make his blow, but before he could move a single muscle, he was sent flying several meters back by a kick. The person who launched the attack on Bell was a young man around 20 years old, maybe a little more, with light gray hair and dark red eyes, along with black clothes. The young man extended his hand to Otter to help him up, and he accepted. When Otter got up from the ground, his biggest wounds began to heal. His healing speed was not near the level of Bell's, but they still healed at a decent speed. This was thanks to his development ability, Healing Power, which allows him to obtain both physical and mental regeneration at a low rate. Returning to Bell, when he was sent flying, he crashed into a wooden carriage that was carrying fruits. Bell was a little stunned since the blow he received was very strong, but when he got up and saw the young man standing next to Otter, many questions came to mind. Bell. Who are you? The young man stared at Bell with a serious but calm look. Arata. My name is Arata, I am a first-class adventurer, it is a pleasure to meet you, Bell Cranel. Bell. Are you a member of the Freya family? Arata. Not really, they only hired me as support for their things. Bell. And we can know what Freya-sama and you are planning. Arata. I'm sorry, but if I get paid for a job, I don't give out information about my clients. Bell. Since I'm supposed to protect Kami-sama from them both, I made an attack with everything I had, and despite that I was able to hurt Otter, but not enough to leave him unconscious. If I don't plan something quickly, not only me, my goddess will be in danger. The white-haired boy, trying to come up with some kind of plan, turned his gaze to his goddess who was supposed to be near him. Not being able to find her around, Bell looked in all possible directions, until in one of those, he set his vision on one of the roofs of the houses that were nearby, and there he could see Hestia. Apparently she had gone up there to be in a better position, and at the same time be close to Bell. Now the problem was, when Bell looked at Hestia, he accidentally gave the place where she was to Arata and Otter, since the two observed how Bell directed his gaze to the roof of the house where she was, which obviously they took advantage of without warning. Otter. Arata, you know what to do. Arata just nodded and with great speed ran until he was close to the building, and then jumped until he reached the roof of the house. Bell could see this with fear, and was about to jump too to defend his goddess, but before he could do it, Otter silently and quickly got behind the albino, took him by the arms immobilizing him. Bell with all his strength struggled, but it was useless, he could not get out of the grip of the great adventurer. While all this was happening, Arata was on the roof of the building next to Hestia, who looked at him with some nervousness. The young man slowly approached Loki, while unsheathing two twin daggers that had jet black blades. Arata. Goddess Hestia, it's nothing personal, it's just business. Hestia. And you expect that to make me feel better? Arata. Coldly, the truth, no. Arata launched an attack with his two daggers towards Hestia, but she obviously wouldn't stay put to receive it. Hestia activated her demonic mark and was able to easily dodge the attack by doing a backflip. Arata, when he realized what the goddess had done, was very surprised, since he didn't think that a goddess like her, especially her, could do something like that. He quickly regained his composure and executed his next action. He put away his two daggers, and from both of his hands, rays began to come out which illuminated almost everything around. When it seemed that he had his attack ready, he pointed both of his hands towards his target, which was Hestia, and from these multiple rays came out that went directly to the goddess. Hestia tried to dodge it by jumping quickly to the right, but when she did, the rays didn't stop or hit anything, but they followed Hestia, as if she were a magnet. The demon lowly jumped somersaults, she ran across other roofs to be able to lose the rays, but it was useless. In an unexpected moment, Hestia took another leap and looked behind her to locate the rays, but they were not there, taking her for distracted. Arata's attack had now been placed above her without her noticing, causing this to give her a strong pain throughout her body and a great cry of pain. Changing the scene, returning to Bell, he was still trapped in Otter's grip, trying to struggle with great force, but stopped in his tracks when he heard Hestia's scream of pain. This made Bell think about the horrible possibilities, which caused him to become more enraged. Using all his strength combined with his anger, he used his elbow to hit Otter in the ribs, which caused him a lot of pain, causing him to loosen his grip for a few small seconds. Bell took advantage of this, and with both arms he got out of the trap and then hit the huge adventurer in the face and sent him flying. When Bell finished with that, in one leap he reached the roof where he heard the scream of his goddess, to find her lying on the ground, while smoke caused by the impact of the rays could be seen from her body. Otter slowly approached where Hestia was while taking out one of her knives, but before he could take another step, Bell stood in front of him and sent a punch straight to his face that made him embed himself in the ground of the roof. Without wasting time, the white-haired man took his goddess in his arms, then went down to the street, being far away from Otter as from Arta, and immersed himself in his thoughts. Bell. Damn it. I'm not strong enough to handle both of them at once, and now my goddess has taken damage. What should I do? If only there was a way to have more power. There is, my friend. Out of nowhere a voice sounded inside Bell's head. He opened his eyes wide and was then sent deep into his mind, where a figure appeared. Bell 2. Hello again, Bell. Bell. Other me, what are you doing here? Bell 2. Well, I'm here because I thought I heard you asking for more power, didn't I? Bell. If that's so, I guess you already know the situation I'm in. Bell 2. I know that, and as an answer to your question, I can give you more power. Bell. Seriously? How? Bell 2. Wow, calm down, all you have to do is say this. The bell echoed in darkness and approached our white-haired man and whispered something in his ear. Bell. Just that. Are you sure? Bell 2. Yes, but you have to concentrate a lot on your darkness and then shout it out, but I have a warning for using this. Bell. And what is it? Bell 2. If you spend more than 10 minutes using this power, your mental stability will decline more and more time that you continue using it. In short, if you spend more than 10 minutes, you will start to go crazy. When Bell heard the consequences of abusing this power, he became a little doubtful for a moment, but then his doubts quickly cleared when he had a clear answer. Bell. I don't care, if with this I can ensure the well-being of my goddess, that's enough for me. Bell 2. It was to be expected of you. Well, I hope everything goes well. Good luck, you'll need it. The other Bell, made of pure darkness as he finished his words, vanished into the void, so that Bell returned to reality outside of his mind. Bell still had Hestia in his arms, and his two opponents were still close to him. Arata had come down and stood next to Otter. Bell decided to make his move as quickly as possible. Bell. Kami-sama, are you okay? Hestia. Yes, now I just feel my body a little stiff. Hestia got out of Bell's arms, who had a serious look. Bell. Kami-sama, now I'm going to use something. It may be dangerous, so move away a little, but also stay close. Hestia said an okay in response, and as the white-haired man suggested, she walked a few steps away from him. When Bell saw that Hestia was already a little away, he walked no more than 5 steps forward, being positioned. The demon rabbit stared at his two rivals in this contest, and then closed his eyes, inside Bell's head, which was concentrating deeply on the first step to follow to execute his move. His body began to experience strange symptoms, the veins of his flight, arms, legs, etc. began to fill with blood so dark that it could be seen with the naked eye. Bell's hair, as white as snow, transformed into black hair. The demonic mark which was in the right eye, Bell's left eye, also formed, and finally the pupils. The cules are supposed to be purple by the darkness of the demon. They were a very intense fuchsia pink. Otter, Arata and the few spectators hiding in their houses were very surprised to see this. Normal people saw Bell as a monster and were afraid of him. On the part of Arata, he saw him as an interesting being, and on the part of the great Otter, he only watched him with curiosity, but at the same time with a little emotion, because his adventurer instincts had told him that the boy was strong, and that excited him. Returning to Bell, he remained in place without moving any muscle, until he slowly began to move his mouth, and instinctively Otter and Arata stood up for anything the young albino did. She opened her mouth to say something. After a few seconds she screamed from the depths of her being, and at the top of her lungs the following. Bell, darkest desire. Suddenly, as he said those words, a huge violet magic circle appeared beneath Bell's feet, which after a few seconds shone brightly, blinding for a moment all the spectators and the two adventurers. When the circle stopped shining, an armor began to form on Bell's body. It first formed on his legs, then on his arms, then on his hips, then on his trunk, and finally on his head. The armor was black with purple touches. It had wings and a tail, resembling a dragon, and it was also large, which made Bell look taller. To give you a better idea, it is the armor of the Red Emperor Dragon from the Anime High School DxD, but in a black version, and the circles on it are purple as are the eyes. Bell's opponents were taken by surprise by this as they had no idea what it was, but that question was answered faster than they thought. Bell in the blink of an eye shortened the distance between him, Arata and Otter, being in front of both. Bell gave a kick to Arata's stomach that sent him flying several meters behind, and it took him less than 0.5 seconds to give Otter a powerful punch in the face, causing him to also fly many meters behind him. It didn't take long for the two adventurers to get up, but with some difficulty, they immediately deduced that this armor was some kind of stat-boosting magic, as they both noticed very well that Bell was now much faster and stronger, but that wouldn't make them back down. In synchronization, both adventurers shortened the distance, and each attacked the white-haired man from one side, Otter from the right, Arata from the left, Otter Asilo his great battle axe, while Arata made a blow with both of his daggers. The two believed that by making a synchronized attack, and at such a speed Bell could not stop or contract both at the same time, at most he could cover himself, but would still receive the damage. They could not be more wrong. Because when the attacks were about to reach Bell, they were stopped in their tracks by him. Bell had stopped both with his arms very easily, both opened their eyes in shock and did not have time to react in time, since Bell did not take long to take their weapons away from him and then grab both adventurers by the head and slam them into the ground, but Bell did not stop there, because the second after doing that, both arms covered by the armor lit up in a black fire with purple glow. Making Arata and Otter feel a strong pain on their faces, Otter was the one who reacted to get rid of this, giving a strong blow with all his strength towards Bell's abdomen, causing the armor to crack a little and leave them free both. Bell didn't waste any second, so he launched himself again to the attack, giving multiple punches and kicks against the two. Arata could evade most of the blows, but some managed to hit him, causing him a lot of pain. Otter blocked almost all of the blows but rarely counterattacked, but at first glance his blows didn't seem to have any effect. So the three adventurers continued, attacking, dodging, counterattacking for around 2 minutes, but the moment came where Bell thought it was enough, so in a burst of speed without Arata being able to react, the now black-haired man launched a horde of consecutive blows to the body of the great adventurer Otter. The blows were so fast and powerful that Otter could not dodge, block, much less counterattack. When the blows stopped, what could be seen was an Otter standing full of large bruises all over his body and bleeding a little. Bell lifted him up with both arms and threw him against a nearby wall, destroying it. Now only Arata was left, who had no idea of the great beating that awaited him. When Bell finished with Otter, the head spin where Arata and he looked at him with a little fear, causing him to increase his defenses to the maximum, but even that did not help him, because Bell approached stealthily and quickly behind him and then put a knee in his back, sending him flying upwards. But that was just the beginning. Bell went sending him to the sky, jumped almost at the same time to go with him, and in the air, he hit him a blow that threw him to the right, but again Bell caught up with him, giving him another blow throwing him to the left. To give you a better idea, Bell was playing ping pong in the air and Arata was the ball XD. Bell did this about 3 times for each side until the last blow sent him down, impacting against the ground of the street. Immediately Bell went down and approached where Arata, already being in front of him. Bell raised his arm, turning his hand into a fist to hit Arata and thus leave him unconscious. With all the strength that he had, Bell was about to give the blow but was interrupted by a large battle axe that was thrown towards him, interrupting his action. Bell turned in the direction where the axe came from and then ran into an Otter in very bad condition, but also standing. He could not be seen, but inside Bell's armor he had on his face with an expression of surprise. Well, he thought that the man who was in front of him had great determination. Bell left Arata and focused completely on Otter now, since he believed that Arata could not continue fighting in the condition he was, and that was true. The gray-haired adventurer was in a deplorable condition. He had bruises and large wounds all over his body. The little blood came out of his mouth and he could barely move. However, he used the little strength he had left to summon some lightning, but this time they were a different color. They were blue and he was not going to use them to attack Bell. No more, he summoned them. He threw them into the sky as high as he could so that then they would explode like fireworks, ending his action. The young man fainted, since by doing that he had exhausted what little magic and energy he had left. Bell observed what happened with a doubt of what that had been, however he did not take much importance, quickly turning around to see the still standing Otter. Bell had the thought in his head that the fate of the battle was already decided and he had already won, but again, fate had other plans for him. The now black-haired man approached his opponent with his armor still complete, but only with a few scratches and cracks. When Bell was about 3 meters away from Otter, he said to himself, "It's over," having that in his mind. He concentrated a large amount of darkness in his left fist to knock out his opponent once and for all and end this fight. Bell charged directly at his target, ready to strike. However, before he could advance even a single meter, something unexpected for him happened. Without realizing it, he was sent flying out of reach of Otter, with his armor helmet totally destroyed. When Bell had already regained his composure, he got up from the ground, took off his helmet that was already in pieces, revealing his black hair and his eyes injected in darkness with his violet pupils. The now demon rabbit looked in the direction from where he was sent flying to run into 3 new presences. The first one, which was next to Otter, was a young red-haired man about 20 years old with brown eyes, wearing a leather suit with red touches. He was wearing a white mouth cover, and on his back was a large black sword with a ruby in the center of the blade. The second person was behind the red-haired man, and like the previous one, he was another young man apparently of almost the same age. He had black, spiky hair and wore a black vest. Underneath this, he had a dark gray t-shirt, along with a dark red tie. He also wore glasses and red gloves. And finally, the person who was a little further back seemed a little older than the other two. At first glance you couldn't really deduce how old he would be, but Bell formulated that he would be around 28 years old. This person was a blonde boy with honey-colored eyes. He had with him a golden armor with a red cape and pants. On his back he had a normal-sized sword with a silver blade, along with golden ornaments and edges. The three new people had the same serious look towards Bell. He was a little surprised to see them all, wondering who they were and what they wanted, but automatically his question was answered when the young Redeed took a potion out of his pocket and gave it to Otter, who drank it immediately. When he drank it, all his wounds were healed instantly. Bell thought. They don't have the Freya family symbol, so they must be Arata's friends. That explains why they help Otter, but that's a problem. 5 minutes are almost up, so I only have another 5 minutes left, and I don't think that's enough time to take care of those three. They must be equal or even stronger than Arata. Plus now Otter is recovered. I'm against the wall. What do I do now? Change. Hey Otter, where is Arata? Redeed asked the big adventurer a question, who responded by pointing with his finger at an Arata who had passed out on the ground a few meters behind him. The three men turned to look at him. Okay, I guess he can't fight anymore. Matt Necky. Matt Necky. I understand, Sigurd. The boy with spiky black hair called Matt Necky apparently understood the order of the Redeed called Sigurd. He quickly went where Arata put him on his back and ran and jumped on the roofs, leaving, but as if it were a flash, he returned in a blink where his companions, apparently he could only in a safer place. When everyone was in position, they looked with piercing eyes and thirst for fight at the demonic being that was in front of them. Sigurd. Bell Cranel, you'd better surrender. Bell, hearing those words, became a little uneasy, but he couldn't hesitate at a time like that. He put himself in a karate-style combat pose ready for the next round. Bell. Sigh, this is going to be a very long day. Well, let the party begin. Chapter 9. The Preparation. Aventurero, the city where adventurers go to fulfill their greatest desires, mostly money, fame, women, or simply to become stronger. But there is one among them who does not seek any of that. Compared to those ordinary adventurers full of greed and envy, his greatest wish, if not to say an unbreakable wish, is to protect and give hope to the people he loves and cherishes the most. I guess it goes without saying who I'm talking about, right? But what if we focus now on a specific place? That place is Babel, a structure originally built only to contain and monitor the dungeon, but which now houses various shops primarily for adventurers. On the highest floor of this is a thin and fine female figure, silver hair and dark violet eyeballs. This beautiful presence, and even considered by almost everyone the most beautiful woman in all of Aventurero, is none other than Freya, the goddess of beauty and war. She is accompanied by several individuals. On her usually serene face and with a small smile, now reflected fear. Surprise. What the face of the beautiful god reflected was difficult to decipher without any context, however a sudden sound and change of scenery were present. The sound of exploding glass, jumping everywhere, but from where? That sound comes from outside Babel. At the top of that building you could see something falling. From the same floor as a few moments ago, something was thrown out the large window, but more than something, it would be someone, and not just one but two people. These were rapidly descending from the highest floor, only outside and in the air. These two people are Otter the king, the only level 7 adventurer in Aventurero, and the captain of the Freya Familia, while the other was none other than our favorite protagonist Bell Cranel. Both in the path of the fall were hitting each other multiple times, ignoring the fact that they were falling from more than 150 meters high. But suddenly, time froze, turning everything into black and white. We're now moving with Bell. Bell. Oh hello, guys and girls, I know you're probably wondering how I got into this. Well, the thing is. Shadow Cranel. Hey dude, what the hell are you doing? Bell? Hey. Shadow. What do you think I'm doing by putting the people who are watching the fanfic into context? Shadow Cranel. But dude, that's my job. Bell. Don't give him that bullshit. You went almost 2 months without uploading any chapter, you lost that right, now let me tell you what happened, go away. Shadow Cranel. Son of a well, thank goodness you die in the copy. Shadow Cranel couldn't continue speaking because Bell kicked him tremendously in the groin. Shadow Cranel. Hey Kinchechimer, what the buck is wrong with you? Also the fourth wall must be broken subtly. Bell. I look like I care. He says this with a poker face. While Shadow lies on the ground crying in pain, we continue with the story. To better understand what happened to Bell and Otter in this situation, we need to go back a week. 1 week ago. We can see Bell with his black dragon armor almost destroyed looking at Otter and the new adventurers who had appeared last time. Bell was preparing for any attack they decided to make, but to his surprise they didn't do that. It seems they were waiting for something until someone spoke. Freya. Otter, that's enough, guys, it may not have been what I planned, but I've seen everything I had to see. Freya had spoken, both Otter and the other adventurers did not object. Immediately Freya escorted by Otter moved away from the scene, and the adventurers also did the same taking Arata with them, but before leaving completely one of them looked sideways at Bell, forming a smile that was curiously friendly. On the other hand Bell was with an incredulous face, he did not fully understand what just happened, but after a moment he could not continue thinking about it, his body due to the multiple damage caused by his rivals, despite not being very serious was playing against him, adding his great tiredness from using his new ability Darkest Desire, that later, he would have to clarify doubts about that with his other self. Faced with his total exhaustion, Bell fell into the world of inconsistency, without first being grabbed by his half-demon goddess in her arms. Bell slowly opened his eyes, implying that he was waking up, but when he did, he woke up in a different place than he expected. He was back in that desolate place of infinite darkness. That place was Bell's mind. Suddenly a voice that he knew well was heard in the void, his voice. Bell too. Wow, it seems you almost got the beating of your life, I guess the bell saved you, how ironic haha. Bell. Ah, it's you another me. Bell too. Were you expecting someone else? Bell. Not really, but I'm kind of glad you're here. For what was said, the black-haired version of the albino just smiled. Bell too. You want me to tell you what that power was that you obtained and the one I recommended to you, right? Bell just nodded in response. Bell too. Well, in short, look at it this way, like I said, I am everything that represents the demon experience and everything about them, but I am also the representation of your full potential. Bell. All my potential. Bell too. Yes, Meliodas told you, didn't he? He said that over time you will unlock all the power he gave you. But that doesn't mean you can use your full potential, all high-ranking demons, more specifically the 10 commandments, and you, have a hidden power, which is called Endura. This power allows you to obtain 100% of all your demonic power, by sacrificing one of your 7 hearts, but that comes at a price, and that is your sanity. The difference here is, that since you are stronger than the 10 commandments thanks to the power of Meliodas you have something much better. Bell. And what is that exactly? Bell too. That's assault mode, the power of the captain of the 10 commandments, although of course you also have the power of the demon king, but for obvious reasons your body right now is not able to withstand either of the two, so I took the task of making so to speak a copy of assault mode, but more capable of your conditions in case of emergency. It has the same effect as Endura. The only difference is that you will not have to sacrifice any of your hearts, and it will only have a part of the real power, but enough to gain more strength. Bell, okay, so another one and. Bell 2. Dude, could you stop calling me other me, it's starting to get awkward. Bell. And what do you want me to call you? Bell 2. I don't know, choose what you really don't care, as long as you stop calling me that. The white-haired boy began to think about commune command in his chin, but no idea came to him, not surprising since Bell is terrible at naming. Bell. Emma hey, you said that the ability I used was created by you, right? How about I call you that? Bell 2. It's very long, what do you think if we shorten it to just Darkest? Bell. Okay then Darkest. Thanks for helping me and giving me this new power, smiles. Darkest. No problem, I like to contribute. Before Bell could continue speaking to his counterpart, a small white light appeared a little above his head, gradually illuminating the entire space in black. Darkest. That's your signal, you're waking up, see you later. Bell. See you, he said with his typical attitude and smile. The white light suddenly became very blinding. Already in the same realm, the albino boy was slowly waking up. The first thing he saw was the ceiling of his room in his new home. He sat up in the bed he was lying in and then stood up. Bell. I hope Kami-sama is okay, I don't remember anything after I fainted, those idiots from the Freya family, I'm going to have to solve that problem. The white-haired boy left his room, walked through the long hallways until he reached the stairs and went down to the living room. When he did so he saw all the members of his family plus his goddess who was fine, which made the white-haired boy happy. The 3 of them were talking until Bell appeared and they approached him with concern on their faces. Lily. Is Bell-sama okay? Welf. We were on the street and we found out about everything, what happened? Bell, noticing the concern in his questions, gave a small sigh and began to relate what had happened. Bell. Calm down guys, I feel fine, and answering your question Welf, I don't know, I just followed Kami-sama in case something happened and when she was taken to Freya-sama, she ordered Otter-san to attack her. Welf. But why would he do something like that? It is a very serious crime to try to kill a god. Hestia. I think I can answer that. The one who had spoken now was Hestia. She was a little further back than Lily and Welf, listening to everything until she decided to speak. Anyone who heard her at this moment would think that she was speaking normally and as always, but that is not the case, because in her words, there was anger. L. Kami-sama. Do you know why the Freya family attacked her? Hestia. That's right, Bell-kun, and the reason they did it was because of you. All Bell could do was open his eyes wide as many questions ran through his mind, just like his companions. L. For me? But why? Hestia. It's simple, it seems Freya wants you for herself. I think she realized how special you are, and that's why she loves you. Welf. I see, it makes sense. If you were to die, Bell would no longer have a family, and she could use her divine charm to bring him into hers, but it's still too big a risk. Just think about it, killing a god. Even if they are the most powerful family in Arario, that's still too big a crime. Hestia. That doesn't matter, she is one of those who would pay any price to get what she wants. L. I understand, but how did she find out what I am? Hestia. I'm not sure about that, but what I am sure of is that we must solve this problem. He will surely try to attack us again in order to get Bell. Lily. You're right, but we have a card in our favor, she smiles. As she said her words, everyone looked at Lily for a second, but immediately everyone smiled just like her, full of confidence. L. Yes, and that letter is. She doesn't know what we're capable of. Reaffirming their confidence, everyone's smiles widened and determination filled their eyes. After that, Bell told everyone, including Hestia, to follow him. After a few minutes of walking, they arrived at the training yard. L. Okay, we have at most 2 days maximum before Freya-sama and her family attack us again, this time better prepared if you want me. So all that time we will train her handling of demon skills and her darkness. They all nodded in response, each and every one of them trained for the rest of the day, applying the basic steps and exercises that Bell had taught them the day before. Lily was practicing most of the time on how to use Flames of Purgatory at first. It was very difficult for her, but in the end, she was able to summon her magic. The flames were small and weak, although it was to be expected, since it was the first time she used her magic. On the other hand, Welf concentrated on being able to execute his ability Trickstar, as evidenced by the use of an apple and a ball. He tried for 2 hours in a row to try to change the place of the ball for the apple, but nothing happened. But in one of the last attempts he finally succeeded. Hestia was only guided by Bell. Since she did not have any magic or special abilities like Welf or Lily, she had to train her darkness as much as possible. Bell gave her advice on how to handle it well. How to use it to her advantage in a wide variety of things, and the different ways of how to use it. From time to time he told Hestia to attack him with her darkness to see how it went. Obviously Bell only dodged and blocked. The small goddess slowly began by summoning a short blade of darkness, then it grew bigger, then she reached the point where she could summon 2 giant hands of darkness like Bell, but she could only maintain them for a couple of seconds, and it had left her very exhausted. It was already getting late, night fell, and with that the end of today's training, everyone went to do their things. Lily went to the library to read, Hestia went to her room to sleep, Welf went to his workshop to put some things in order among other things, and finally Bell went to take a shower. After finishing cleaning up, Bell changed his clothes and went to Welf's workshop. It was around 9:40, but it seemed neither he nor Welf were sleepy. When he arrived, Bell opened the door and Welf turned to look at him. Welf. Bell. What's up? I thought you'd be resting. Bell. If not, I had to ask you a favor, if you can, of course. Welf. Oh come on buddy, don't say that, of course I can, and tell me what it's about. Bell. The truth is that until now I have gone to the dungeon and fought without armor, so I wanted to ask you if you could make me one. Welf. Sure Bell, but I can't make it since I don't have the materials to forge it. Bell. Don't worry about that, when I bought the mansion I asked that the workshop have materials to be able to forge, and I have many monster objects for that as well. Welf. Okay, if that's the case then all that's left is for you to tell me what kind of armor you want. L. I want a light armor, one in which I can move freely without difficulty, but that protects me and is resistant. Essentially I want it to be made of adamantite material. You can find it in the warehouse that is in the back. Welf. Very well, then I'll have it ready for you tomorrow morning. After Bell thanked his friend and gave him a few details about the armor, he made his way to his bedroom to rest. He threw himself down on his comfortable bed and closed his eyes to be absorbed by the abyss of dreams. Welf stayed in his workshop until after 2 in the morning, making Bell's armor and something else he asked for, then he also went to his room to sleep. The next day everyone got up early, had breakfast, played games normally and went to do some small chores. After doing them they started their training. Both Lily and Welf continued practicing their magic to the point that with the passing of the hours they had already applied it almost to the limit. Hestia could be said to have also advanced, but not as much as the other two previous ones. She was still putting into practice her handling of darkness. Up to now she can summon short-range weapons for a limited period of time. In addition, with the help of Bell she can now use two giant hands made of darkness for a longer time. Another thing she also learned was how to generate wings of darkness to fly, but like the previous time, on the first attempt she could only hold on for a few seconds, although she felt happy since she was progressing, and even more so if the one helping her was Bell. It was around 3 in the afternoon, so our albino told everyone that they could take a little break. Everyone did as Bell suggested and went to rest or cool off in the shower. Welf, after taking his break, took out a large box and some things wrapped in some kind of blankets and looked for Bell. Luckily for him he was still in the training yard. He was wielding his sword against the air as a way of practice. The red-haired man approached the albino. Welf. Bell, I have what you asked for. Bell. Great, thanks a lot Welf. Welf. You're welcome, it's the least I can do after everything you've done for me. Okay, what are you waiting for? Put on your new armor. Bell. Yes. Bell approached the large box and could see inside his new armor. Just as he asked, it was a light armor. It was black with purple stripes. The white-haired man grabbed the breastplate and looked behind it. Blacksmiths almost always named the armor, so he wanted to know what the name of his was. He looked down in the corner of the breastplate, the name, which was Swift Darkness. The albino let out a drop in I'm style. Since it was not exactly what he expected, it was rather very typical. Bell. Welf. Welf. Dime Bell. Bell. With a poker face about the name. Pointing his finger at the name of his armor, Welf caught what his friend meant. Welf. Ah, that's it. Well, since it's your armor, I thought it should have a name that matched you, so I started thinking about what your most notable qualities were. Bell. I see, well thank you very much Welf, I'll give the other thing to Lily and Kami-sama later, for now I'll put on the armor. Some time passed, and both Lily and Hestia returned to the courtyard to resume training. Upon entering, they ran into Bell, who was wearing his new armor. Lily, Vala Bell-sama looks amazing. Hestia. It's true, you look great. Bell. Thanks, Welf made the armor, I thought it was time to get one. By the way, Kami-sama, Lily, I have something for you. Both lawless asked the albino what it was. He just took in his hands the things wrapped in blankets that Welf had brought and took them out, showing a halberd with a hilt with golden touches, and at the end of it, there was a golden dragon head that held the blade of it. The other thing he pulled out of his holster was much smaller. It was a pair of spiked gloves, along with some spiked arm guards. Everything seemed to be made of black leather, and the spikes were silver. Hestia and Lily were curious about the type of weapons the white-haired man had shown them, until one decided to speak. Lily. And why did Bell-sama show us this? At the question, Bell just looked at them with a small smile. Bell. These are your new weapons. Both girls looked with a sparkle in their eyes upon hearing that those were the weapons they would use. Welf, who watched the scene, approached the three. Bell proceeded to give each of them their respective weapons. To Lily he gave the halberd, and to Hestia the gloves and arm guards. Then he began to explain a few things. Bell. Lily, I know your stats indicate that you have more magic than strength, but that doesn't really matter since we are demons, and that implies that we will have the same amount of magic and physical strength in our body, so I asked Welf to make you a halberd. I don't know exactly what kind of weapon to fit your taste, so I chose the one that seemed like the best option to me. Lily. No problem Bell-sama, Lily loves it. Thank you very much. Bell was pleased with Lily's response, smiling as he moved on to Hestia. Bell. And Kami-sama, since we are training your hand-to-hand fighting style, I thought it would be a good idea to have short-range weapons, and from what I've seen, you are very agile, so it combines perfectly. Hestia. Thank you Bell-kun, although I have a question, what are they made of? Before the white-haired man could say a word, Welf was now the one speaking. Welf. Well, the truth is that little Lily's halberd is made mostly of monster objects, more specifically the hilt, and the blade is made of Damascus steel. It is a very light steel, but at the same time extremely lethal if you keep the edge. On the other hand, Hestia-sama's gloves and protectors are made of Danima leather. Among the objects that Bell had there was Danima, so I combined it with leather. This combination can be up to 15 times stronger than normal steel. Finally, when I finished making Bell's armor, there was some adamantite left over, which by the way I was very surprised to see in the mansion. What was left over I used to make the spikes for the gloves and protectors. Both wielders of their new weapons listened attentively to the red-haired boy. Both looked like girls who had been given new toys, since they kept looking at their weapons. Hestia and Lily. You're amazing Welf. Welf. Oh come on, it's not that bad. Bell. What are you saying? These are great jobs, it's not for nothing that we have the best blacksmith in Arario. Congratulating his friend, Bell hugged him by the neck while Welf scratched his cheek a little embarrassed. Welf. Well, I don't know if I should consider myself the best blacksmith, I still have a long way to go to reach Hestia-sama. Bell. I'm sure you'll catch up to her and might even surpass her, you'll see. By the way, Lily, Kami-sama. Lily and Hestia looked at Bell when he called them out of curiosity. Bell. I asked Welf to do certain thing to his weapons to make them more comfortable. Hestia. Right. Bell. Aha, just activate your demonic mark and concentrate some darkness in your hands while you are with your weapons and you will see. They had found it a little curious that Bell suggested that, but obviously they accepted the requests for this, both at the same time activated their demon mark on their foreheads. Black spots with a purple glow were shown on them. The two females concentrated a small amount of dark matter in their hands, and in doing so, their weapons did something. Lily's halberd contracted, the hilt became smaller, the same size as a knife hilt, and both the gloves and the protectors of Hestia, in these the spikes had been hidden inside them, leaving in plain sight as if they had never been there. Lily. Impressive. Hestia. But what was that? Bell. Well you see, I also asked Welf to make a small adjustment so that his weapons are portable and he can carry them everywhere. This is thanks to the development skill blacksmith, it allows him to make better quality armor and weapons. Lily. Incredible. You think it's all Bell-sama. And the Welf-sama is an incredible blacksmith. Bell. Well, how about we get back to training? Everyone agreed, heading to the training camp. Lily was called by Bell. Lily. Do you need anything Bell-sama? Bell. Yes Lily, you still don't use any of your development skills, right? Lily. No, I've just been practicing my main magic and darkness. Bell. Okay, then now we're going to train your development skill mystery. Lily. And exactly why that ability? Bell. You see, it's very crucial in a fight, just think about this. If we're in a tough fight and we don't have enough time for our darkness to recover from damage or we don't have healing potions, with your ability you could create high-range physical and mental healing positions that would give us an advantage, besides I need to test one thing. Lily. I see, then if that's the case I'll do it. Both adventurers set off. For 2 hours straight Bell helped as much as he could so that Lily generated special objects thanks to her development ability. At first she achieved it easily by invoking common quality potions. Over time she was able to generate a potion different from the others. This one was in a test bottle and inside it had a yellow liquid. It was not really difficult to create objects with this ability, but it did require a good amount of magical and mental energy. Lily. I did it Bell-sama. Bell. Smiling, yes, well done Lily. Lily. By the way, Bell-sama, why did you need a high-quality potion? You could have bought one, since I don't think this one is at the level of an original. Bell. You're wrong about that, coming from the development skill mystery, and especially the fact that the bearer of that skill is a strong and talented demon, makes her equal or even better than an original. At the white-haired boy's compliment, Lily blushed slightly, something that Bell, who was next to her, didn't notice. After Bell told her that was all for today, he told her to suggest with her normal understanding along with Hestia and Welf, he alone went to a certain room in the mansion. This room wasn't that big, it was medium-sized, it had some shelves with books on them, a window that overlooked the training yard, there were small boxes on the floor, but what stood out the most was a table with test tubes, a microscope, and various chemistry tools. Bell. Good to work. They spent around 2 hours, it was already 8 in the evening, and it seemed that Bell was already finished. He left the room and headed to the exit of the mansion, not without first warning the others. The white-haired man walked for about 10 minutes until he reached his destination, the headquarters of the Maich family. This family was of the expedition type, rather medicinal, but it was very scarce, if not to say almost no members except for one member. This family had a large debt of money, so the common adventurers did not want to enter this. Bell stood in front of the entrance and knocked twice. No more than 2 minutes passed before someone opened it, which was the god Maich himself. Maich has long, dark blue hair and dark blue eyes. He wears a black robe, a tan stole that reaches his shoulders, and brown shoes. He is described as beautiful and unknowingly attracts women with his looks. Maich. Bell. What are you doing here so late? Bell. I wanted to visit you since I haven't had time for that lately, and I also wanted to give you something. Maich didn't see anything wrong with it, so he let it go normally with just a little curiosity. Bell. Is Naza-san there? Maich. Yes, why do you ask? Bell. I need you to be here, it's important. If the blue-haired god was curious about Bell's visit before, now that had turned into confusion, but he didn't want to ask, so he did as Bell asked and went to look for his only member of Familia. After a while Maich returned, but with Naza. Naza has long brown hair, purple eyes, dog ears and tail. Naza. Bell, what do you need me for? Bell. So, if that's the case, before I do what I came for, could I ask you something? Follower and god looked at each other for a second before answering. Maich. Of course Bell, what do you want to know? Bell. Well sorry if I'm impertinent but you told me once that Naza-san lost her right arm, didn't you? Bell asked about a sensitive topic because when asking the question Naza turned her gaze to the floor a little downcast while Maich watched her for a second, sadness could be seen in her gaze. Maich. Yes Bell, Naza lost her arm on one occasion when she went to the dungeon. Bell. I see, sorry for asking. Maich. Don't worry, it's not your fault. And why did you decide to visit us so late? Bell. I came to deliver something to you. As he said this, Bell took out of his pocket the same bottle of potion that Lily had created thanks to her development ability, only now the previously yellow liquid that was inside became a dark gold. The god in front of the boy could only make a face of confusion while the dog girl just stares at the bottle. Bell. I wanted to give you a very special potion, I think it will be very useful to Naza-san. Speaking with his typical cheerful voice and smile, he told his intentions to those present in front of him. Maich. And what's special about this potion? Bell. Why don't you check it out, Naza-san, would you give me the honor of trying it? The girl was hesitant for a few moments but finally agreed, saying she would ask him to come in after taking a potion. Besides, it was a potion that came from Bell, so he wouldn't ask her for anything strange. Naza-san. Of course I don't see any problem with it, but can I know what exactly does it do? Bell. It's a surprise He didn't give it much importance, if Bell said it was a surprise it must be something good, so he received the potion and immediately opened it and drank it. For the first 10 seconds he didn't feel or see anything happen until suddenly, his body felt weak, sore, so much so that he was staggering to the point of almost falling. Maich who was watching everything, held Naza to prevent him from falling. The god with great concern in his being asked very upset. Maich. But what kind of potion is that? Bell. Maich-sama trust me, it hurts at first, but it will pass. Maich analyzed what Bell had said, but he still felt worried about his only member of Familia, however something happened, Naza no longer felt bad in any way, in fact she felt the opposite, she felt more energetic and stronger, she stopped staggering, and then straightened up and looked at the albino boy. Naza. But what the hell was all that? Faced with the question, Bell could only smile broadly at the result he expected. Bell. Look at your arm. Maich and Naza, what? The two couldn't be more confused. First, Bell arrives very late to give them a potion that caused Naza to feel unwell, and now he asks her to look at her arm. This was without a doubt the strangest thing that had ever happened to them. Naza. Bell, what are you talking about? The girl with dog ears and tail couldn't know, or rather she didn't want to speak for sure, since she felt something that she had forgotten a long time ago, a warmth and softness that she had lost. She slowly turned her head towards where this was coming from, that's where she saw it. Where her right arm was supposed to no longer be, there it was, her arm as if nothing had happened, she moved her fingers and arms, as if she thought it was a dream, her mind realizing that everything was real, her eyes widened as much as they could, and tears began to flow from the adventurer's pretty face, admiring her arm. However, not her but her own god watched everything with his eyes as wide as saucers at the same time that he was in shock. L. Congratulations Naza-san, you have your arm back, that's what the position was for. Naza turned to Bell for a moment, still with tears in her eyes, and then fell to the ground like a sack of potatoes. Apparently, so much had happened that she fainted. Bell. UPS, sorry Maich-sama. The god didn't move an inch, he just looked at the ground with his eyes still wide open, until he finally fell unconscious on the ground as well. Bell. Wow they took it better than I expected if I'm honest But the small nervous laugh the albino looked at the scene in front of him, thinking that he would have a lot to explain when they woke up. Chapter 10. It turned out better than expected. The white-haired boy known as Bell Cranel was currently at the headquarters of a familia, more specifically at the headquarters of the Maich Familia, which does not specialize in expeditions either for reconnaissance or to earn income in the dungeon, it specializes in the area of medicine and potions. The silver-haired boy observed a somewhat peculiar scene, the god of the headquarters where he was lying on the floor unconscious as was his only familia member, all he could do was watch this for a moment with a small drop of sweat. Bell. It went better than expected, now we wait for them to wake up. Taking some chairs that were nearby, Bell carefully placed the god Maich and his follower on them. The white-haired man waited patiently for about 5 minutes until the two began to wake up. The first to do so was the god, already awake he looked directly at the albino. Maich. Bell, was it a dream? Bell. Not everything was real Maich-sama, just look. Pointing at Naza Maich, he looked at her, focusing specifically on her regenerated arm. Still in disbelief, he could only open his eyes wide in surprise. He regained his composure and stood up from the chair, one hand on his head, apparently having a minor ache. Maich. But how? Bell. We'd better wait for Naza-san to wake up so I can explain it to her. And so they waited patiently in the room for the girl to wake up. During the wait, Maich occasionally asked Bell trivial questions to pass the time. After about 5 to 8 minutes, Naza began to show signs of waking up. Her god helped her to recover faster. After everything was in order, Bell began to apply to the two of them. Well, you're all wondering how that potion was able to regenerate Nazan-san's arm, so I'll try to keep this as simple as possible. The reason for this is thanks to stem cells. Both of them, upon receiving Bell's response, could only tilt their head slightly in a manner of not understanding. Maich. Stem cells. Bell. That's right, in short, stem cells are special cells. Because thanks to these cells that are present in our body, other cells are formed, but the specialization of these is the ability to be a repair system for our body and those that generate tissues. Naza. Okay, I understand, but how is it that a stem cell can do this if it can only regenerate minor tissues, and besides that, how could I get a stem cell into that potion if they are only found in our body? Bell. That's thanks to me making a synthetic, artificial, stem cell, but with improvements, increasing the range of regeneration and self-healing, along with an enhancer which I mixed with the stem cells and a high-quality healing potion. And if you're wondering how I was able to do all this, it's because I have a lot of knowledge of human anatomy and biology, plus I have a magic that helps with things like that. Bell. It was really thanks to all the biology, medicine, and anatomy books I ordered, along with the mansion and Lord Meliodas' knowledge that I was able to make that potion. And of course, I also used some of my darkness, which is why it's capable of joining severed limbs, so I just had to enhance the stem cell with it. Surely some here will be wondering how Meliodas' knowledge helped Bell in this case. If Meliodas was not a scientist or a genius or anything like that, easy, in his more than 3,000 years of life when he had the opportunity he learned a thing or two from Merlin about spells and potions, also that she was a genius in terms of medicine. Not everything was just eating, drinking and fighting for Meliodas. Speechless, both the blue-haired deity and his daughter from Familia were left, neither of them believing that a mortal could do something of this caliber, especially a 14-year-old boy. Naza. I don't know what to say, thank you very much, Bell. Tears began to fall from her eyes. Bell's hand moved towards Naza's head and then began to caress it, which took her a little by surprise. Bell. You have nothing to worry about. Maich. But Bell, because you used that special potion on Naza, you could have saved it for a special occasion. Bell. With a smile, this was a special occasion, Maich-sama, too. You were one of the few gods who helped me when I was looking for a family, and if I can help the people I care about, I won't hesitate to do so. A smile formed on both of their faces as they thanked the white-haired man again. Bell. Since I'm here, I want to take this opportunity to tell you something. Naza. And what is it? Bell. The position may have side effects. Maich. What exactly do you mean by that? With a little nerves. Bell. Okay, before I tell you that I have to say or rather reveal one thing. Naza showed a little uneasiness as she thought it would be something very serious, while Maich just paid attention to every word Bell said. Bell. The truth is that I am not human, I am a demon. Silence fell over the room, not a word from anyone, and it lasted for about 30 seconds, which seemed uncomfortable for the white-haired man, until. Mika and Naza, he. Naza. Why you're a demon. How? Bell. Well, at least no one fainted this time, he. Maich. Bell, if it's not a bother, can I ask something? Bell. Of course, don't hold back. Maich. If you are a demon, how is it that you are here? Demons are supposed to serve the god Hades in the underworld, and also why are you telling us? Bell. The truth is that I'm telling you this is because I prefer you to hear it from me rather than someone else, and I also believe that something will soon begin where it will be known. It's the safest bet. On the other hand, you are one of the few families that supported me as much as my goddess, so I thought you deserved to know. Maich. Okay, I understand, but you still haven't told us how you became a demon. Bell. Unfortunately, I can't go into too much detail, I can only say that I was human, but someone turned me into a demon. Maich processed everything that had happened and everything Bell had said, while Naza, she was simply about to explode. It's not every day that someone you know comes to your home, gives you back your arm, and then tells you that you're a demon. A few minutes passed and in that short time Bell talked trivial things with Maich until the white-haired man decided it was time to leave, but not before checking something. Bell. Okay, I think it's time for matcher, but before that, Nazan-san, could you allow me to check one thing regarding your arm? The aforementioned girl turned her head to look at the albino and nodded in response. Bell approached the girl as she extended her newly recovered arm. Bell. Sorry, this might be a little disturbing. Immediately after saying that, Bell raised his hand and on the tip of his index finger, he generated a very small sharp blade of darkness. This, for obvious reasons, made the two people who were watching this a little uneasy. Immediately afterward, Bell brought the blade of darkness closer to Naza's arm and made a small cut, enough for a few drops of blood to come out. The girl let out a small moan of pain. "Maich, Bell, because..." The god didn't continue, as when he lowered his gaze to the arm where the wound had occurred, it began to have a golden glow, and in a flash the wound caused by Bell disappeared. Bell stood in his place, only giving a satisfied face. "Bell. As I suspected. Maich. What did you suppose, Bell? Bell. That the potion had some extra effects, and apparently now Naza-san has tissue regeneration, as if it were a development ability. Maich." Silent, surprised, and speechless could be how the pharmaceutical god described himself in these moments. And who wouldn't be? Someone you know suddenly comes to your home, gives back the lost arm of a loved one, and now also grants them a healing ability that's not something you get to witness every day. Maich. Bell, you've left me speechless. I don't know how to express my gratitude. Bell. It's not necessary, Maich-sama, as long as I know that Naza-san is now well with her arm back, that's more than enough for me to be happy. After that small test and both Maich and Naza thanking Bell again, he set off on his way to his new headquarters. On the way back, Bell walked normally, but from time to time he glanced at the roofs of the houses to make sure no one from Freya's family was following him, but he saw nothing. After a while he arrived at his home. Colorado was expected to be greeted happily by his familia after spending some time together and having dinner. Everyone except Bell went to their dorms to sleep. Bell. I'm not stupid, Freya Familia would at most leave us alone for a day to prepare. They could attack even while we sleep, so I won't make it easy for them. It was around 1 in the morning, everything seemed normal. Bell passed the time reading some books or simply walking around the mansion, checking everything including the rooms of his friends and his goddess to confirm that they were okay. But of course, this obviously wasn't going to stay like this for long. Bell. Everything seems in order, perhaps Freya Familia wouldn't be so brazen as to attack another familia just like that. Or maybe they're plotting another way to attack us without even resorting to violence, but then how would I? Achuo. Strangely, the white-haired boy had sneezed. This shouldn't have been a while, but a few seconds later he did it again 2 more times. Bell. But Achuo, what's wrong? Achuo. Already fed up, Bell just rubbed his nose to get rid of it, but when he finished he looked down to find that the ground was covered by a kind of dark green mist. This was all over the mansion as far as Bell could see. Bell. But what? Before he could do anything else, a loud bang was heard from the side of the main entrance. Bell was in the living room, which was near the main entrance, so Bell quickly went to see what was going on, but when he arrived there were only the entrance doors in pieces on the floor. The boy, in confusion, took a step closer and inspect better, but the second after taking the first step, figures from the ceiling launched themselves to attack him. Bell felt this and activating his demonic mark as quickly as possible, he did appear at back. When he recovered, he could clearly see the attackers. There were 4, all apparently hobbits. The 4 wore the same sand-colored armor along with full-face helmets of the same color, but each one carried a different weapon, being a spear, a greatsword, a hammer and an axe. On one part of their clothes, the logo of the Freya Familia could be seen. Bell. So in the end they did attack us in our own headquarters, huh? Before coming to Arario I knew about the most famous familias and their most notable members, and after what happened with Otter, I started to investigate about the goddess Freya and her children. They are the Gulliver brothers Bringer, the 4 of them level 5 adventurers. From what I investigated they have perfect synchrony and teamwork. It is said that between them they know what the other will do before they do it. It is as if they were one person. I can deal with them, but I don't think they came alone. If any more of the goddess Freya's children are in the headquarters they could go after Kami-sama. I have to get rid of them quickly and go with my goddess. Without warning, the hobbit who had the axe and the one who had the hammer rushed towards him. Unfortunately Bell at this moment did not carry his Hestia sword, so he had to improvise. Bell generated with his right arm a sharp blade similar to that of an axe, which he used to block the attack of the hobbits that came in the form of an X. But at the moment of impact the remaining brothers jumped over those who attacked Bell in order to land a blow above me, creating a giant hand of darkness in his left hand. The white-haired man was also able to block it. The reception of the impact was so strong that the ground where he stood was destroyed when his feet were embedded in it. Withdrawing the attacks of each brother, the albino demon made his opponents retreat a few meters from him. I don't have time for this. But that thought in his head, Bell generated black flames with a purple flash in his hand and threw it, believing it was directed towards the Gulliver brothers, but in reality it was thrown to the ground, creating a black and purple wall of fire that blocked the path between him and the hobbits. With all the speed he had, he arrived in a jiffy where his goddess's room was, because he was very surprised to see a lily standing in front of someone's body embedded in one of the walls unconscious. This was Alan Frummel, a level 6 catman better known as Vana Freya, also from the Freya Familia. He had a mask on his mouth. After seeing the unconscious Catman, Bell set his gaze on Lily, who was in a combat pose and with some small bumps on her body. In the bed next to Lily was Hestia, apparently asleep. Moments before, Lily was normally in her room sleeping, but a loud bang coming from the first floor woke her up abruptly. When she got out of bed, the first thing she noticed was a dark green mist on the floor. Seconds later, she sneezed several times until it just went away, but then her face became serious. She quickly ran to the nearest room, which was Bell's, since she immediately thought that they might be being attacked by the goddess Freya, but when she arrived she found no one inside the room, so she went to the next room, which was Hestia's, to go protect her from any danger, because although Freya's objective was Bell, the easiest way to take him away was to first eliminate Hestia. No sooner arrived than she was relieved to see Hestia peacefully sleeping in her bed, but she was immediately startled when she noticed another figure standing in front of the bed. It was a catman who was holding a spear with the intention of harming the goddess. Obviously Lily wouldn't allow it. With the speed of a level 6 adventurer, she summoned a short, sharp blade of darkness from one of her arms, using it to block the catman's spear. He, upon noticing the hobbit and her action, took a few steps back. Alan. Hey stupid hobbit, if you know what's good for you, you better move away. Lily. I won't let you hurt Hestia-sama. The anger in his words stood out, but this mattered little or nothing to the first-class adventurer. He simply made a sound of annoyance to get into a combat stance with his spear, to which Lily also did. She took out her halberd, which she carried on her waist behind her, activating her demonic mark so that it would transform into its true form. Without even flinching, the catman just jumped towards the attack, swinging his spear to one side of Lily, blocking the attack with the spear's stick. The hobbit was adding resistance, but was taken out of the wave by her opponent. Alan. You're strong, shorty, but you have no experience. Lily didn't take his words into account as she was very focused on protecting Hestia. However, for a moment she thought about it and knew it was true. No matter that Bell had turned her into a demon or that she was the same strength as a first-class adventurer, she had no experience both in fighting and in using her strength. Although these 2 days she had trained, she had barely learned the most basic. Because after all, just a few days ago she stopped being a weak support who had no knowledge in combat other than shooting arrows with a crossbow at monsters. But that didn't matter to her. Quick movement. Lily, with great agility and strength thanks to her demonic mark, she retracted the catman's spear so she could attack with her weapon, but Alan was faster and launched multiple thrusts, causing Lily to have to dodge or block them clumsily with her halberd. However, this did not help much, since several cuts managed to reach her, seeing that Lily could no longer keep up with the pace and that she did not know how to fully use her weapon. Alan wanted to knock her out by giving her a hard blow to the head, but the hobbit, sensing this, jumped back, remaining at the back of the room. I guess I'll have to improvise. Concentrating all the darkness she could in her left arm, the little brown-haired girl held her halberd very tightly and then threw it with overwhelming force towards her target. He dodged it but almost failed. The force of the throw was so strong that the speed with which the spear was going, he could barely see it. When it was dodged, it embedded itself in the wall behind Alan. He, recomposing himself, he turned his gaze, which had a frown, towards Lily, who concentrated her darkness on her legs to approach him quickly and nimbly. Alan, seeing him, gave a horizontal cut, but Lily lowered her head, dodging it, and then dodged a hammer kick, moving to the side. The kick that the catman threw crashed into the ground, cracking it. With everything she had, the brown-haired girl formed a giant hand of darkness and then hit the cat adventurer with all her strength, sending him flying towards the wall behind him and impacting, forming a crater in it, leaving him unconscious. Back to the present. Bell watched as Lily was breathing a little raggedly while her wounds were healed by her darkness, but on the other hand, the apparently unconscious catman began to come back to his senses and try to get up. Alan. Bad fingers. However, he was silenced in a moment by a frowning Bell with his mark activated, delivering a colossal punch to your head, leaving you asleep again. Bell. Lily, how are you? Lily. I'm fine, Bell-sama, nothing my body can't recover, but more importantly. Shaking her head towards a certain sleeping goddess. Bell. We are the same. Approaching his goddess, the white-haired man tried to wake her up, but she showed no signs of doing so, and this began to worry Bell. Bell. Why don't you wake up? Lily. It's because of the gas. Then Bell looked at Lily in confusion. Lily. There are plants in the dungeon with hallucinogenic effects, or in other cases they serve to put people to sleep. These with good preparation work well. Bell. So that means Kami-sama and Welf are under those effects. We are fine, we both have abnormal resistance, so it won't affect us. He says this while carrying Hestia in princess mode. But at that moment he remembered the Gulliver brothers who would soon arrive. Bell. Take Kami-sama and Welf to a safe place, I'll give them some time to escape. Lily. But what about you, Bell-sama? Bell. Don't worry, I'll catch up with you when I'm done, I promise. Getting going, Lily went to do what her captain asked while Bell ran to his room, but not before throwing a flare of dark fire into the hallway behind him to shorten the possible passage between him and the Hobbit adventurers. Upon arriving he took his light armor, equipped it, and grabbed his sword as fast as he was allowed, then he ran to the entrance of the backyard that also led to the training camp. Bell was surprised that the adventurers from before hadn't come after him, but simply left it aside. But no more stepping into the courtyard. Well, let's just say a welcome was ready for the white-haired man. There was the same man Bose whom he faced along with that bounty hunter, but not only him, but also the Gulliver brothers surrounding him, a little further away standing on top of a wall, an elf with pale blonde hair like his skin. He was holding a kind of strange spear, the blade of this one was larger than usual, it looked more like a scythe. Behind Bell he heard footsteps, and as he turned around he fixed his gaze on the roof of the mansion, where another elf with dark skin and silver hair, a dark elf, was standing. Just arriving and standing next to the dark elf was Alan, who was apparently still trying to recover after the blow Bell had given him. I am surrounded. It was the first thing Bell thought, with a drop of sweat running down his cheek, he tried to find a solution to get out of this tight situation. Otter. Dark Rabbit. The imposing voice of Bose was heard throughout the courtyard, making the call focus on him. Otter, Rindeed. Frowning, the albino raised his defenses and senses to the maximum. Throw down your weapons and surrender to Freya Sama, you have no choice. On this occasion, the blonde elf had spoken, with a certain calmness in his person, but at the same time with a certain disgust toward the albino boy, who looked at him with authority. However, Bell did nothing more and less than smile while looking at the elf. Bell. There's always a choice. Such an answer caused a slight frown from all the present members of Freya Familia. Quick eye movement. Elfern express a thoughtful face and then give a mocking smile towards the children of the goddess Freya. Bell. You know, it doesn't surprise me that the goddess Freya sent you to capture me. Because after all, she's probably tired of using you as hex objects and now she wants a new one, haha, because you have to admit it. Freya Sama is a tremendous slut, haha. That would undoubtedly be digging your own grave if you were a normal person. Insulting the goddess Freya in front of her attendants was literally suicide. But Bell Cranel wasn't just anyone. As expected, each and every member of the Freya Familia became so enraged that they emitted a murderous aura that could easily scare the shit out of even the Udius on the 37th floor of the dungeon. But Otter was a different story, this one had flashing red eyes, his hair was standing on end with fury as steam emitted from his jaws, while he formed a fist that splattered blood from the force of the grip. Without saying a word the man Bose with monster speed cut the distance between him and our protagonist. Bell, even having his mark activated, could barely see the speed of this one. I guess that anger makes you exceed your limits, that was what Bell thought, however, no more. This one appeared in front of Bell. Directed a direct blow to his abdomen which the white-haired man tried to cover himself by placing his sword as a shield at the same time that he jumped to the side to try to escape from the blow. Unfortunately it did not work, and although he was able to block it, he could feel how his bones rumbled from the magnitude of the blow, and as an extra he was sent flying, crashing exactly where Welf's forge was located, thus creating a smokescreen by the impact. Darkest, what a bucking blow they gave you. In a mocking tone, the dark version of Bell played a joke on his original. Bell. Shut your mouth, I could use some help, you know. Recovering from the flight and impact, Bell stood up from the rubble of the forge. Darkest. Oi, don't play dumb, I know you have plans. Besides, it's not like I can literally read your mind. With a straight face and in chibi version, I leave that comment which made the albino sweat in I'm style. Returning to the main show, the first-class adventurers, seeing the boys' flight, approached slowly until they were a few meters away from what used to be a forge, F for Welf. Bell. You know, you should read the environment better when making jokes. Bell, taking control of the situation, observed his opponents, most of whom were in front. Bell. What's up is all they have. It seems that the Freya family only has scum that drools over a boar goddess. The result is obvious, such words angered his opponents even more if that was possible, causing Ellen the elf and Otter to rush at him, but immediately Bell lassoed a monster's flare of dark fire, creating a huge wall of fire. Such was the amount of power he used in that flame that it did not let see anything on the other side of it, but by fate or bad luck, Otter could distinguish between the flames, the exact silhouette of his target white hair. This one without any fear happily jumped forward passing long through the flames, causing burns all over his body, but not to a serious level. At the moment of passing through the dark flames, Bose wielded his great black sword, giving a stab piercing something in the act. Believing he had stabbed his target, that thought only lasted 1 second when he saw that what had pierced him was not Bell, but instead a dummy made for training. Taking out his sword Otter, he inspected his surroundings in search of the albino child, but there was no trace of him. However, the person Bose was looking for was far from where he was supposed to be. From the top of a tower located about a kilometer from the mansion were all the members of the Hestia family, including their goddess and a white-haired man, watching the members of the Freya family, who mobilized trying to locate the albino without success. You may wonder how Bell got to that place from one second to the next. The answer is simple: when he realized he was cornered and with no possible way out, thanks to his enhanced vision of level 3 plus his demonic mark, he was able to realize that his companions along with his goddess were located in the tower. Welf, when he realized that Bell noticed where they were, he began to make signs with his hands to imply that he was going to use his ability Trickstar on him to exchange places and thus get out of that trouble. And luckily for Bell, when he was sent flying towards Welf's forge, he saw a dummy they used for practice, and that conveniently was the same size as Bell, so to confuse Otter and his team a bit, he threw that huge flame and then exchanged places with the dummy. That was how Bell was able to get to his current position, although as a result poor Welf, having used his ability on such a large target, ended up shaking almost all of his mind and magic reserves, being on the verge of fainting and sweating like crazy, since although being a demon he had a large amount of magic, he never used his ability in such a large way. With a lot of effort he was able to exchange places with a ball and an apple. I guess they were very lucky this time. Bell. Welf, are you okay? Welf. Tired tone, don't worry Bell, I just need to rest for a moment. Bell. Thanks Welf, I owe you one, I almost didn't count it. Lily. Bell-sama, and now what do we do? Bell. The first thing will be a place where we hide for a while until we are fully recovered. Hestia. And then? Forming a challenging smile Bell replied. Bell. Well, if Freya-sama wants a fight, we'll give her a fight. Of course this worried everyone, including Welf, who was still about to faint. Welf. You're crazy, you know that, right? But the truth is, we can't go on like this forever, and I don't think words will help. Lily. It's a dangerous mission, I could even say suicidal, but if Bell-sama believes we can win, then so can I. Hestia. No matter where you go, I will follow you Bell-kun. Bell. Guys, very well then. Bell, who was crouching, stood up and looked up at the top of the Tower of Babel, with a look full of determination. Bell. Officially this is a war. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.